into open session, please?
I will move that we reconvene into open session.
Second.
Great. Roll call vote. Susan?
Aye.
Janice?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Rochelle? Aye. Elizabeth, aye. Ayes have it. We are in open. We have a request to move the order of business today. So we would like to move item I, celebration of excellence, to above G, which is the administrative report, so that our young folks here from Granite Ridge can do their presentation without having to listen to a bunch of adults go on about administrative reports. Any objections to that? Great. So Trish, if you can reflect our change, please. And I will welcome up Granite Ridge Schools Crane Club. Mr. Foster, are you kicking us off?
Yeah, we'll kick you off.
All right.
We're super excited to be
Yay!
here. Yeah. Sure. Amazing. Well, first of all, we want to recognize that Miss Miller's here. Miss Miller and Miss Lawler, who's not here, one of our third grade teachers, they're the folks that thought of this idea, and over time it's evolved. And you're going to see a group of young people that have really bought in and done a nice job with the idea. And we're excited to have them here tonight. And we didn't tell them that everyone was going to come and watch about Crane Club, but this is
Look at this standing room only for Crane Club.
a great opportunity for them to be in front of a great crowd and be excited about it. So we're going to turn it over to them.
Awesome.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Yeah.
Come on up, friends. Welcome. There's a hand. There's one that you can do more of a handhold to. If it's easier.
Perfect. Yeah,
I
let's
know.
do that.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Charlotte Miller, and I teach art at Granite Ridge and Taylor Prairie schools. I'm joined here by 7 wonderful, amazing, awesome students from GRS. They will introduce themselves now.
Hi, my name's Colin. I'm in 4th grade. Hi, my name's Margaret. I'm in 3rd grade. Hi, my name is Harper, and I'm in 5th grade. Hi, my name is Skip, and I'm in 5th grade. Hi, my name is Julian, and I'm in 5th grade. Hi, my name is Quinn, and I'm in 4th grade. Hi, my name is Charlotte. I'm in 5th grade. They're here to talk about Crane Club. Crane Club was formed by the GRS teachers with the goal of building community between the 3 grade levels. The idea was sparked by a similar program at Winnequah School with the Hootie Huddles, and we received ideas and support from teachers and staff there to get our Crane Club started.
Now they will tell you more about our Crane Club by taking you through what happens at a typical meeting.
Maybe we could just pass this around as we go. So to the next person.
Each Crane Club group is led by a teacher that is made up of 12 to 15 students from all different grade levels and classes. We meet about every other month for 30 minutes. Each time we meet, there is a theme. In March, our theme was resilience. When we meet, we always start off with a greeting to each other where we say each other's names and say hello. Then we go into the opening activity. The opening activity for resilience was a would you rather activity. For this activity, we stood in a circle.
Around this table. Around the table. One.
Semicircle, that works.
And stepped into the circle for rather option 1, step out of the circle for option 2. One of the questions was, would you rather have a friend cheer you on, or would you rather have a friend cheer you on? Or would you rather cheer on a friend? So step out if cheer on a friend, step in if have a friend cheer you on. All right. Then we did a turn and talk about each of these questions with people in our group. It is important to keep trying because you can get better at whatever it is. A mistake can help me grow. When someone supports me, I feel loved. After this, we listened to a story about resilience. We discussed it, and then the teacher introduced the activity. We were each to make 2 links and create a chain. On one strip of paper, we wrote the name of a person by supporters. On the other strip, we gave an example of when we have shown resilience. put the walls together, and each crane club made a chain. The teachers put them all together and put them at the Related Arts hallway.
And now you can see on the screen the Related Arts hallway when we strung all the chains together. It looked really pretty down there. Now each student would like to tell what they like about Crane Club.
What I like about Crane Club is it's a new thing in my day. I like Crane Club because I can see a different classroom. I like Crane Club because I like seeing my friends. What I like about Crane Club is meeting new people. I like Crane Club because I like to be a leader. I like Crane Club because I like meeting new friends. I like Crane Club because we get to do different fun activities.
Very cool, thank you. Thank you for coming and presenting to us. We'll see if the boards have any questions or comments for you, but first of all, I just want to say you guys did an amazing job. This is a big room with a lot of people in it today, and so excellent job, great presentation. It was amazing. So one more round of applause for our friends. All right, questions from the board.
I have one about how many people come to meetings. Yeah. Thank you.
And it's across all 3 grade levels, right? So it's a mix of 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for each group. Very cool. Yes, Susan.
How did you decide you wanted to be a part of this?
It's a whole school thing, so we all have to participate in it, but we all have fun doing it.
Yeah, Rochelle.
You may have told me that or said this in your presentation, but how often do you meet?
Oh, once a month.
Once a month you meet, and then for how long do you meet?
30 minutes.
Okay. Like how quick people are responding. That's awesome. It sounds like a really neat time to get together with friends.
So you did resilience in March. What are some of the other topics that you've covered, if you can remember that far back?
February. I don't remember.
That feels appropriate for February. I like that.
Everybody made hearts, like the conversation hearts that had, where we put those up in the hall. And then in the fall, we did thankful.
Yeah.
Things like that.
One more question for you all. How do you think that adding this Crane Club experience has changed the school at all? Like, how has it made school different or better than it was before you had Crane Club? I see you. Let me see if I see you too. Let me see if another friend wants to say, and then we'll can kind of go around. We can take more than one answer for this one. Yeah.
What has kind of changed about the school is that people got to know more and more people.
Yeah, so you get kind of maybe a better sense of community because you can know more people. I love that. Other ways or things that you've noticed that have changed about your school since Crane Club? Yeah.
We get to see people in our school that we don't see every day.
Yeah, that's so cool. So then you don't, because Granite Ridge is a big school, and so you don't get to see everybody all the time. Other things. Colin, if you have an idea, you can go now.
No.
They took yours? Yeah, so is this something that you're excited about doing again? You think you'll keep it up? Awesome. Well, great work. Thank you again for coming. We really appreciate it, and keep it up. We can't wait to hear what you guys learn about next. And thank you, parents. We always thank the parents for bringing the kids to the meetings today, so appreciate you. They wouldn't have gotten here without you. And thank you, staff.
Change.
Yes. Oh, that's true. Yes. Thank you for accommodating the change of time. Sorry, last week felt like it lasted a lifetime with our Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Awesome. And thank you, Granite Ridge staff. Bye, everybody.
Hi. Yeah, I was sitting in the basement with the tornado warnings going off when we canceled that meeting.
I just brought my computer down. I was ready to do it. Tanya was like, are you crazy?
Well, I was like, I just saw a big, hail this size, hit the window in front of me. I was like, oh, yeah, so.
All right. Moving on to our next agenda item, we are, just as a reminder for folks that are following on your own bingo card at home, we are back to G, administrative report. So the first administrative report we have this evening is the broker opinion of value, which I believe is like the show this evening. So come on up.
We'd love you to come on up and
That's going to be a very tough act to follow.
That's why we put them first. Raise the bar. Is Ashley joining us? Joe? No, Ashley.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. So, well, you can start.
Oh,
I
yes.
was going to introduce them, but we'll let them introduce themselves.
Yes, so you can introduce yourselves. I just want to level set for the board, just as a reminder, and for folks that are here and watching. This is administrative report. This is the information item. This is the first time we'll be hearing this information in presentation. Obviously, we've all read it in our board docs. I would love to keep our discussion to clarifying questions in anticipation of the larger board workshop we're going to have next week, so that we have the reason that we scheduled the board workshop is so that we had an actual dedicated time and space to just focus on this. We know it's really important. So certainly clarifying questions, things you have, different ways you want the information presented ahead of our board workshop. But that's hopefully the parameters that we'll engage with today during this particular moment with you all. And with that being said, welcome. Thank you for doing the work. And if you could introduce yourselves and go through your stuff, that would be great.
Thank you. Go ahead, Greg.
My name is Greg Anderson. I'm a broker partner with Joe, and happy to be here. Thanks for the time.
And that microphone is mobile, so you can pull it towards you, so you don't have to
This
lean.
one's for me then.
Yeah.
Joe Eldridge, Colliers. We're a commercial real estate brokerage team that's had some experience with these types of valuations. So we're here to help provide whatever information related to your real estate you might need.
Great, thank you. And thank you again for accommodating the time change based on our weather.
Did you check his mic?
Oh, thanks. There we go.
Okay.
So what just came around is the white paper for the organization and a little bit about both of our gentlemen here tonight. So anything you want to add about?
Sure. The paper is a cut sheet on our firm. We're over 250 professionals with offices in Madison, Milwaukee, and Green Bay. So we're the largest full-service commercial real estate firm in the state. And that's just a little bit of us illustrating our toolbox that we want to make available to you. The other cut sheet is a team. Greg, Ashley, and myself are a brokerage team that specializes in this type of asset.
So we had asked originally for some broker opinion of value to get, similar market analysis to look at district office Nichols, MG21 altogether, and the Maywood property. And through ongoing conversation, we just kept calling him and add this. And we're like, just do all of it. Yeah. Just do all of it. So thank you. That was a pivot that we had made with board direction. So it's all here at 62 pages. So we're going to turn it over to you to walk us through it.
Certainly, yeah. Thank you so much. I'll start by talking a little bit about the process and what the document that you have in PDF and the very many pages here are. It's a valuation, or we abbreviate as a broker opinion of value. So this is not an appraisal, although we use 3 of the same appraisal techniques to value real estate. So our normal marching orders are to try to identify the best and highest use for a property. What would an investor or a buyer be likely to pay in an open competitive market? And then how likely is that to actually happen? Is the use one that would be it might be the highest value use, but possibly not acceptable to the community, or a repositioning of the property. So we look at the income approach to a property. We look at the replacement value. What would it cost to recreate it? And we look at also just comparables, similar assets in the market. We've done this exercise for other school districts, sometimes all of the assets, sometimes just a few of them. And they're, I'll say out of the gate, notoriously difficult to value because they're purpose-built assets for the most part, right? It's a school built to be a school. There are some potential, subsequent uses that sometimes can work and sometimes cannot work. A lot of the underlying value comes from what else could it be? What could it be next? In our kind of unique market now, the other challenge is if we're going to make it to something else, we've all read and heard about construction costs. Well, parallel to that is demolition costs, which are also construction. So if an asset is going to be repurposed, completely made into something else, it's its value less the demolition cost, less any remediation, and whatever positive value remains is the value. So sometimes those economics are not well-received pieces of information, but we can walk you through the steps on how we arrive there. So that's a little bit high level on the process. Am I missing anything, Greg, with the process? Greg's the chief underwriter. He's the mathy one. So yeah, he does a very nice job. So with that, we went through each asset. And Tanya, how condensed or fast or slow would you like us to go? 'Cause there's a lot of information here.
Well, I think you were wanted to really have everyone understand what the setup is, what's in there.
Yeah, so the purpose of this meeting today is for you to go over as comprehensive as possible, recognizing the fact that it'll take some length, and that's okay. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And part of why we wanted to do it this way and then come back for discussion is so that we have time to sort of hear you, read through the materials, digest, and then we can have a dedicated space to have that discussion. So really, this is your section of the agenda, and we're here to listen and ask any clarifying questions we have.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Maybe we'll just walk through the document in order, asset by asset.
Love it.
You'll see some familiar themes and formatting as we go.
Yeah, and let's say process-wise, board, let's kind of at each, what feels like a natural transition or juncture, pause and ask for questions about that specific thing. And then obviously any overarching questions when we're done feels like the most efficient way to get it through.
Each asset, pause.
Yep.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, very much so.
Board, any questions or concerns about that approach? Great.
Good.
All right,
Okay.
with that being said.
Here we go. All right, buckle up. Thank you. So first page, we just identify and map all of the assets and label them. It helps a little bit to see proximity. And then our first step is always just to identify the asset, and we'll do an executive summary. So we also broke out a cover page for Monona, and then what we call a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for repositioning and redevelopment. And you can see our thoughts there. So the first asset going to Maywood School. The initial page is going to be an executive summary or a property profile. You're going to see an area with a map. We're just being sure that we're correctly identifying our subject and its main attributes. How big is the physical improvement, the building? How much land is there? What are the tax key numbers? Are there any environmental impacts such as wetlands or primary environmental corridors that would render some of the excess land not buildable or developable, where it has value as a buffer perhaps, but not true redevelopment value? And we identify that. There was, I believe, some discussion that the city was potentially interested as a buyer. So we ran each scenario as if a municipality was in fact a potential buyer for it and what that would look like, then, I'll take them one at a time. So scenario A is if the city were a buyer. The only way to value that is on comparables, right? What are similar assets, similar structures selling for? We pull the research of comparables, and we're trying as much as possible to have similar assets, similar geography, and a somewhat recent timeline. You can't always get all of those, right? So Greg did the comp hunt. We had to go to Green Bay for a few, correct? And
Yep, I'll add a caveat that it's challenging to find publicly available sale of assets similar to these schools to municipalities. In this situation, it's Green Bay. A lot of times square footage accounts aren't correct and exact sale prices aren't publicly available. So we did our best to track down, and there's 3 that sold within Green Bay within the past 2 years. We'd like to keep it as recent as possible. And fortunately, Green Bay gave us the best option in comp set here.
Right. And we believe in that. So what we'll do then is put a miniature executive summary for each comparable asset, perhaps make some adjustments based on, quality or extenuating circumstances, push them to an average price per square foot. And sometimes if there's a real outlier in the size of the asset, we'll do a weighted average square footage price. And you can see that drives to a little over $20 a foot. That's what the asset is. And then if there is enough acreage to justify an adjustment based on additional value, we'll factor that in based on likely value of that and the subsequent use. Correct on the land? Okay, thanks. So, for instance, on Monona Grove, if we're $20.50 to $25.64 per square foot, you're going to end up in that $800,000 to $1 million range. So, kind of hold that thought. You have another scenario, there's school sale comps within the last 2 years in similar municipalities, right? That's going to push us to an adjusted value of $34 a square foot. We also pulled church sale comps. Sometimes schools sell to churches. They're a likely subsequent user and buyer. So they're going to be a little better, $52 a square foot. However, we had to, be mindful that sometime that might be a beautiful cathedral with stained glass and a purpose-built church versus a school as a secondary use. Next scenario, scenario B, we'll call it, but that's where we started to look at the demolition costs. And we see demolition $8 to $10 per square foot, and demolitions of parking lots and playgrounds run about 25 cents a square foot. We project that out into the space there is in the asset, come up with a demolition estimate. So if it's going to be redeveloped, scraped, as we say, and repurposed as something, most likely a residential use of some kind, you have to deduct the demolition value from the value you could hope to achieve from development, back it down, and then end up with a value.
I will add the caveat as well that this we have a figure of $8 per square foot. That's a common theme throughout this entire BOV across all the assets. That is pre-lead, pre-asbestos, and any other materials that are found throughout the process that could bring it up into the mid-teens if you find any of those materials within a...
It's helpful to know. It's like
during
assuming no
demolition.
hazard is found.
Correct.
Yeah, great point. And we didn't do that deep of a dive at this point.
Sure.
If someone is pursuing this in earnest, they're going to order what's called a phase 1 environmental study. And that's environmental engineers will do a study of publicly available information and physically visible characteristics. If they see things that raise concern, they proceed to a phase 2 environmental study. That's invasive. Then they're drilling holes and poking holes and digging and finding out really what's behind everything. It's a little bit of a flawed procedure because the people who say you need a phase 2 are the ones who get paid to do the phase 2. But that's the world we live in, and we're just aware of it.
Yeah.
So, scenario C, multifamily development. I'm on page 10. Yep, good, thank you. So we do a couple of things. We look at comparable sales that were sold for this purpose to be redeveloped into something else. And then we'll do a yield plan. Under the current zoning or the guided master plan for the community, what is allowable? Single-family homes, apartments, condominiums, at what density? Greg, could you tap in here and speak to the zoning code as written? They made it a little extra challenging for us.
Yeah, it's a little tough here.
Yeah. A lot of these assets that we're viewing here are actually zoned single family. In a scenario like a multifamily redevelopment, there of course would need to be a rezoning to a multifamily or a PUD, a planned unit development, which adds a little bit more flexibility. In a place like Monona, Cottage Grove, we'll see that a little down the road as well. They don't have designated density here. So a lot of it was looking at precedent, what's been done down the street, how much density they're able to achieve, these developers, that is, on a per acre basis. And it'll typically range between 20 units per acre all the way up to like 120 units per acre. So that makes our life pretty challenging in terms of, because we assign a value to a unit yield and what a developer can place onto a property, right? It's all whatever they're coming in as rents, and then they work their way backwards to a land purchase basis and a purchase price on your guys' end, right? So it made it challenging. So what we did, and this is also, you'll see it throughout the BOV document, is we looked at precedent, what's happened down Monona by municipality and what they've achieved on a per unit basis, on a per acre basis, and then boil it down to what are these developers purchasing in raw land pre-development once they're all in, really is what it comes down to, right? So you'll see that as we go through.
So if it's single family, for instance, we'll assign, I'll tell you a few of our tricks actually. If a lot is anticipated to have a retail sale value of, say, $120,000, the most likely value a developer will pay for that raw land as is, not improved, not demoed, not entitled, is going to be about 20 to 25% of that value. So if you think you're going to sell your lots for 120 grand, you really can't pay much more than 24 to 40,000 for them raw land. Mm-hmm. And that's how their economics start.
If you're a builder.
Correct. Yeah. Back of napkin math, but as they like to say, if it doesn't work on the napkin, it doesn't work in the spreadsheet. So
you'll see,
We'll say that? Is that a phrase? I've literally never heard that in my life.
our world, we hear it.
I'm going to say it all the time now.
Yeah, feel free.
Every time I'm writing a new proposal.
you'll notice at the top, line item number 1, waterfront at River Place. The goal here is on the right-hand side, you'll see sale price per unit. That's what the developer purchased on a per unit basis, based on the yield that they were able to achieve.
Okay.
And it's our goal to narrow down to what developers are willing to pay on a per unit basis, and then figure out how many units they can build on this piece of land.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead,
I had
James.
a community member reach out to me, and they had concerns that the acreage is not correct, which means the units per acre is not correct. So they had been able to look it up on
The
Access.
multifamily development, you mean? For the multifamily development?
So just
Waterfront one?
Was it for the comparable or for the subject?
for the three things that are listed, the Waterfront Dane and the Blue Monona. Just
We can most definitely look into that. A lot of that is done on the back. We have software that is, you can think about as really beefed up GIS, and every software is prone to their own issues or mistakes.
What's GIS?
Geographic information system. Each county has one, so you can find out.
It's like fancy mapping. Anytime you
Yeah.
see like a fancy map, it was made in GIS.
Yep. So a lot of the stuff is that there might be some slight variation. I will say that the values won't be skewed that much because there's a larger range in values on a per unit basis. On the units per acre, you'll see that's 125 all the way up to 350. So it's less of a acreage issue. It's more of a what can we fit on this piece of land issue.
It's a good question and a valid concern. That's why we show you all the math in columns. However many acres it is and however many units you can get on it, plan on 15,625 per unit. And you can project out the math accordingly. But we're happy to double check that. Does that make sense?
It would be great before our workshop if you could.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be helpful. Thank
Okay.
you.
Let's just check them all. So again, that's kind of a baseline figure. You start with about 15,000 a door if it's multifamily, and then back out the demolition and the economics. It's just multiplying, right? Now, there's a personal or a, emotional issue to that too. If you've had a school in your backyard for 20 years, you're not going to love anything else being there. But the most likely use is going to be what's guided on the comprehensive master plan that the city has publicly available on their website, as does every city in the state. And in most cases here, it's single family. So you can assume that's the most likely scenario. The other directive we get quite frequently is sell this to anyone except another school. This is a school, but you can't sell it to a school. So, and that's fine. And we completely understand that, but that will have an effect on the value as well. So scenario C, you've got D, which is single family development. That's the part I was touching on a bit before. Greg tears into the zoning. You see, recommended lot size, 12,500 square feet, fit in the middle of the zoning code. How many lots can you get? What do we think they're going to sell for retail? Back out the percentage of what a developer can pay and multiply it by the yield. So actually the most desirable there, single family, is going to be the lowest price because it costs so much to knock the building down and there's fewer units to recover that cost over. So you've got your demo costs in there, page 12, and you'll see this format for each asset. We pull them all together and we blend them. Another thing we're fond of saying is good, fast, and cheap. Pick any two, right? We can sell it fast for cheap, and you kind of get the idea. But the uses have to be something. If the value is in a subsequent use, you have to allow for the community being on board with that. Because if you don't get the entitlements and the approvals, you'll never achieve that value, no matter how many times we write it down.
Right.
Okay. So pause.
Yep. Thank you. This is really helpful and I think really good level setting just in terms of how the document's oriented in those pieces moving forward. So let me pause now for board questions about process or specific to me, Wood. Go ahead, Philip.
Can you just give a little bit more detail on scenario B, who the buyers would be in that scenario? I was just trying to figure out, just some examples of the kind of entities, or, like the school sale comps. Is that selling to other schools? Is that developers, or?
So there's a few in here that I can point out to that we know locally in Milwaukee area that have been converted to multifamily developments, right? So if you look at the church sale comps, number 3 was done by Three Leaf Development. They purchased on about $20K per unit on basis. I think they're squeezing out about 250 units over there. And then there's another one on Blue Mound, number 6 for school sale comps. And sorry, you have it up, thank you. That's also going to be multifamily development. They're doing about 300 units. Maybe they're almost 400 out there. Great part of Milwaukee as well. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, and it's really challenging to know exactly what's done with every single asset because each buyer has a different intent. Some may be developments, some may be purpose-driven, and they might be using it for its intended use and or something, reinstituting it into something that's purpose-driven and mission-driven as well. So those are in there too.
Got it. So in distinguishing between B and C, which is specifically multifamily, there sounds like there's some overlap. There's multifamily in scenario B. Is the right way to think about scenario B that it's a bit more generic and less site-specific and more an asset of this sort of size and scale?
Yes.
Versus
correct.
The specific site itself being converted to multifamily? Is that
correct? The goal is to cast a wider net with scenario B, and understanding that every site lends itself to a different use. And obviously the goal really is to, the reality is that there's a small sample set of church and school sales, one. Then we have to go back a maximum of 2 years, and the goal is to keep it within above or below 25% of the square footage. So that makes our life pretty challenging, right? So we have to do a lot of transposing adjustments to value, which is why we have that column there as well.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure I was thinking about the two the right way.
I appreciate that question, Philip. I had the same one.
Well, perhaps another thought on that, and I'm not trying to add more confusion, but there's 2 adaptive reuse models for conversion to multifamily. You could repurpose the existing building if it lays out well and lends itself well to that, or scrape the building and start over ground up. And those are also considerations.
Definitely.
Other questions about Maywood or process? Okay. Great. Moving on. If you think of one, that's okay. We can go back. Moving on to Winnequah.
Winnequah, similar model. The aerial's interesting. You have single family on almost 3 sides in another community building on one side. So a lot of times we'll just look at what are the surrounding uses, and a lot of times that's going to be the most frequent continued use or subsequent use. So again, current zoning guided single family, you're 94,000 feet, you got 140,000 feet of blacktop, 7.5 acres, no wetland, which is good. So if it is redeveloped, it's all available land. Again, I think we use scenario A as a sale to the municipality. I think that's only more likely on some of the assets than others, but we wanted to show the model for the comp set on each one. So here, you're going to see the same comp set value, $20.40 a square foot. We apply it to the square footage of the vertical improvement, and then in some cases add for land if there's residual value there. So our comparable sales, again, you're going to land at about $34 a square foot. Multifamily development, you have the same, you'll see a lot of overlap in the comp sets for the same uses, but it's units per acre, what could be developed. Again, less likely when you have single family on 3 sides, but we do want to run the math for you just the same. Multifamily development.
I will add a point. In here, you'll notice that column 1, there's TIF in there. There's a lot of precedent in Monona for the municipality providing TIF. Is everybody here familiar with how TIF works in general?
I am, and I think our board mostly is, but I think it would be helpful because we have a lot of community that's interested in, if you could just give a brief description so folks are kind of all on the same page.
Sure.
Thank you.
So you can think of it as, and I suppose it's a bit challenging with a school because there aren't any property taxes being paid here, but let's give an example of a a property across the street that has a property tax bill annually of $50,000. A developer buys this school or buys a property across the street, and it's frozen at $50,000, and the municipality and the developer agrees that when it's done, it's worth $20 million with a property tax annually of, let's call it $500,000. So there's a $450,000 delta there. They take that $450,000 delta and they can apply it over multiple years as a investment, a partnership between the municipality and the development. And it really helps the capital stack and makes the deal work. A lot of developers, when they're going the multifamily route these days, they won't even touch a deal if it doesn't have TIF, and that's just the reality. If there isn't TIF, they go an alternate route, which is a LIHTC deal, a low-income housing tax credit deal, and that takes 2.5 years
long time.
route. Right. So TIF is pivotal. So it's really important that this be pointed out here, is because it's one of the benefiting factors and drivers behind a multifamily deal actually penciling out for a developer these days. It's just the reality of the interest rate.
Got it. Thank you.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to pause. I'm just going to remind folks that are in the audience that when we're talking and whispering in the background, it makes it really difficult to hear the presentation. So please keep side conversations to a minimum. Thank you.
A lot of our development clients, multifamily development clients, are now saying that unless they can achieve a rent of $1,600 and $1,650 per month for a one-bedroom, they cannot make it work without TIF economically. Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why there's TIF, and that's why there's workforce housing, and it's just very expensive to build now. Profit margins have not increased despite what people may think. It's the margins are the same. It's just the costs are up that much of everything.
Yeah.
And I will say, it's unlikely that a school like Winnequah will be turned into multifamily development, though. But it was important for us to really go through the exercise to look at it from really every angle, so everybody here was aware of, hey, this is a situation. But could it be this? Yes, is a likely. Most likely not. But it's here, and there's precedent in Monona for something like this happening.
I appreciate that, and I think it's a good point of clarification for folks that are kind of watching, that the options are here as a sort of as an exercise as we think about kind of what our assets are within the district, not necessarily an actionable item for us.
Yeah.
So I think it's helpful. Thank you.
Very much so. Look at your comprehensive master plan, publicly available. It will say what the development is guided for.
Yep.
So,
And you'll notice this cadence with every asset here as well, as we follow the same exercise and regimen just to make sure we looked at it from every possible scenario.
So Ken, and don't get upset with the economics, but scenario D, we have a negative value. If we were to try and convert this to single family, the yield and the site size are such that the cost of demolishing the building, removing it, and you'd only get 19 single family lots out of it at the most likely price, the site has negative value for that use. So.
And I will add, you look around the school and it's surrounded by single family homes, which makes it challenging, right?
So, value conclusions, pull the scenarios together. We did, at each value conclusion page, put kind of an expected marketing time on each. Some take quite a bit longer to get approved and entitled or changed. So that's back to the good, fast, or cheap argument, any two of the three. Good pause?
Yeah. Questions about Winnequah? Great, thank you. Let's go to MG21 School District Office, also collectively known as Nichols.
Right, collectively known as Nichols. A very cool building. This is one that could be repositioned in its current state for another use. So we looked at this a few different ways. This one, I think, challenged Greg and Ashley a fair amount. Again, executive summary, right, with our facts and figures and our pictures. You've kind of got two buildings. You have a high visibility, high traffic count controlled intersection, so there could be demand for other uses. Current zoning, community design district. That's kind of a way of saying lots of different things. There's also some land kicking back to the side that could be more residential. There's this kind of cool narrow area between backyards that could be infilled with more residential. So the point is you could have multiple uses for this one, and is probably the only asset that lends itself to that. So the SWOT analysis is going to touch on those things. Retailers look for traffic counts. They look for visibility. They look for connectivity. So the corner could be a very good retail corner, but the building lends itself really well to reposition as multi. This portion of the building, more so than the balance than the MG school. So sale to the city, again, we model that, your same price per square foot, and that's just math we carry through. Comparable sales, you'll see the same concept. We're going to be about $33, $34 a square foot. Church sale comps, same numbers. We compared those as well. We blended and weighted church comps versus school comps to arrive at $43 a foot for that model. Multifamily, this is where it gets more interesting. You could get a decent number of units here. Again, it depends if you repurpose the existing real estate or scrape it and start over. This is a pretty building. I don't mean to be flippant when we say just scrape it, but it's just a consideration. So, good so far on this one? So the multifamily development is going to get you, probably your best value. C, single family, again, because the cost of demo and the low yield and low density is going to be your lowest value. You're going to end up at about $250,000. Pulling those values together on page 30, value range for each asset, I think you're probably going to see a combination if you're going for the best price. You could have some retail, some low-density residential in back, and some multifamily on this portion of the site. Or to an institutional user, again, you're in that $30 to $40 a square foot range. Additional considerations of value. We did look at potentially what does it look like if you separate the school from the district office and just do one or the other if you want to maintain the school. You severely limit your buyer pool because you're going to maintain a common wall of connectivity there. Or if you have to demolish one, that's even more challenging to wreck something attached to something else without wrecking that also. So your demo gets quite a bit more expensive. That would have to be a very specific use. We looked at it, but we don't consider it viable or a likely outcome. Again, lower end of the value range too. We did also look at just some models for additional value on the couple of lots on page 32, what could be done there. A couple of lots that front on the opposite residential street have some good residual value. One of them does have an easement on it that limits it a little bit, a walking easement. And then, for the flag lot to convert that could be some townhouses, some row houses, or something that would be kind of cool and blend well with the community in addition with what gets done with these two buildings. This one's definitely the most fun to work on and the most reasonable.
You can add that consideration 2 and 3 can be potentially done in tandem with either a multifamily or a commercial route as well, just because they're separated.
Yeah, Janice.
And then could that be done and just leave the school and the district office where it is?
Certainly.
Yeah.
I think as long as the local government will approve it. That's always the caveat. Sorry.
Yeah, you get into a lot of fire trucks, ingress and egress, and all that fun stuff, which we're not experts about, but they are there, and those are unknowns pending approval, of course.
The idea of row houses is an interesting one. It's come up for the City of Monona Planning Commission a number of times. They're doing some long-range planning now as part of their 10-year capital plan with an ad hoc committee, and it has come up pretty much every meeting we've had. I'm the school district representative on that meeting, so it's interesting to think about a possibility for row houses.
Very, very cool little infill site. And then if the school does stay, then that's, an amenity. That's something people want, But the folks that live backing up to both of those and perhaps believe now that's their backyard because it has been for a while, they're maybe not going to love it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tanya.
And this is the property that we also asked you to do a title search on to see what the deed restrictions were, because there was some wonderings if it was
We
deeded.
did, yeah. In
Want to talk a little bit about what you?
Yeah, thank you for the prompt.
the
In
reminder.
some cases with other districts, there's been deed restrictions placed on title that prevent a subsequent use. For instance, some school districts will deed restrict upon sale against use for an educational facility because they don't want the competition in their district. You'll see in a retail center, Fantastic Sam's doesn't want to be next to Sports Clips, right? So they'll deed restrict against competing uses. We had a concern that maybe there was something there, so we pulled a title report, and all we found was a walking easement on the one residential lot. So there's no prohibitive deed restrictions other than that.
Great. Yeah, and the board should be familiar with that because that actually came to the board a number of years ago.
Yeah, I think in the community there, like urban legend, that the building was gifted from the Nichols family to never be used for anything but educational purposes, and that is not accurate.
Interesting.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
We see that when something's a gift, then the people want to kind of put their fingerprints on it.
Yeah, that
in
makes
a way.
sense.
Medical too is frequent.
Yeah.
So, pausing or moving on to Monona Grove
If you
High
could
School?
Pause really quick, just a clarifying question. So the way that you've done your SWOT analysis, there's like one for Maywood and Winnequah, and then there's a couple for this building. Can you just describe sort of how you decided what to clump and what when you did your SWOT analysis?
That one?
Thank you.
Yeah, the reality is that a lot of the assets are very similar in nature, or they're facing a lot of the same strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we decided to pare it down, and I believe we finally landed on. We just did it based on if there are some assets that required special attention, and I believe Maywood is one of them because there is the idea of potentially selling it to the city, right? Then we kept it in there. But if you look at something like a larger asset like Monona Grove High School and Glacial Drumlin, those are really big assets, and they're facing a lot of the same situations, right? So to be repetitive and provide it just felt like a waste of space.
Yeah, so basically you just like categorize things together that had pretty like.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful.
We did our best because they're all in different settings, right? Where we're sitting right now is in a different setting than where Maywood is, which is more of a residential setting. That's just the reality of where it's located.
Yep, that makes sense, thank you.
No problem.
All right, other questions about Nichols School / District Office / MG21 School? Okay. All right, moving on to the high school.
Monona Grove High School.
You have them scope out a parking lot too while we were there?
That tennis court.
I know,
Yeah.
but that's a different conversation for a different day.
You do have a great lot just to the west of the tennis court. That's got some value, though. Yeah, 0.6 acres, great traffic counts. That would go well. So property profile, page 34. Again, identify the asset, the location, the acreage. Here, there's actually 3 tax parcels, and what can we do with them? In some of these cases, when you have a different tax parcel, it'd be easy to pick some off, like the 0.6 acres on the hard corner. That's easy, right? And it can be done in a silo without having to address the other things if so chosen. So, $20.40 with your square footage and some adjustment for land. We're going to land at $4.8 million. Again, that's a kind of a fictitious sale to the municipality, but that's where the comps put it, pushing the math out. Comparable sales, $28.44 per square foot.
You'll notice that the comparable sales range drastically differs. Reason being is that this is a substantially large building, and we can't provide a comparable that's 10 to 20,000 square feet to something that's 120,000 square feet, right? The numbers are skewed, so you'll notice that as you go down in square footage, the price per square foot typically increases and vice versa with a smaller asset or a bigger asset and a smaller price.
Inverse relationship there.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
In the larger facilities such as this with the larger land, I mean, if it were to be turned over, they can lend themselves to a mixed use or a lifestyle type community. We're going to see different things. Think of something maybe similar to the Corners in Brookfield, but with less density.
Okay.
But multi-use, kind of a living, walking, working community. But we pulled it together on scenario A, city sale, and comparables. Again, because this one is tough. It's not continue the street that stubs at each end of it and put a few lots on either end of it. Much more complicated. So 4 to 12 months on comparable sales B, or 4 to 8 if it's a sale to the city. There's additional value, again, page 38 in the lot. That's about $275,000, $300,000 lot as a commercial property. That could be parsed off without affecting anything else, any other operations, if they just wanted to harvest the cash from it. There's comparable sales to support it.
I'm sure you know that's within the city of Madison.
Madison, yeah. Well, we are aware. Don't you? I appreciate it, but we are more than fully aware.
I was surprised when I found that personally.
Yeah, it's a very interesting boundary, but I will say, and this, we can table this board for a different conversation, but as a reminder, we did engage the city, at least attempt to engage the city on using that for additional parking spaces for the high school. Have not gotten anywhere meaningful yet there, but I think
Not gonna stop.
yeah, I think that, in terms of that parcel, the need that we have in the community related to the high school is specific to extra parking.
Yeah.
Because it's a nightmare in the neighborhood that's here, understandably so, gets frustrated because they have high school students and families and those parking on their properties.
Doing high school things, right?
But yes, we are aware, thank you.
Do you know how it's zoned?
I don't remember off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
I'm just looking through.
I can go back and look, most definitely.
That'd be helpful, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
I want to say, I really want to say it was residential. Yeah.
That's why they were fighting me on the parking lot.
Yeah, we'll get there. More to come, but I do appreciate you thinking about it creatively in terms of those parcels.
On the SWOT analysis, another redundancy, so it just refers you to page 57 because it's a similar one for another asset that ties it out. And that would move us over to the other municipality. If we'd
Great.
like to pause or go
Want to
right to
pause
Cottage Grove.
questions about the high school or sort of just any overarching questions about our Monona assets? Okay, great, thank you. Let's keep going.
Cottage Grove. Okay. We're on page 39. Yes, we are. I'm looking up. So we have assets 5, 6, 7, and 8, starting with Taylor Prairie. So 900 North Parkview. Property profile on 41. Again, you see residential on 3 sides, and you have parkland on one side. And SR4 single family, that's probably meaning 4 units per acre net density.
No, it does not actually.
Okay.
But
It's going to be a higher density. We'll get you the exact number on it. 89,000 feet of parking, 68.3. You've got almost 12 acres. So your SWOT analysis tailored to this. If the city were interested in buying it, we're still a little over $20 a foot. That's all that makes sense for anything they would do. Comparable sales are going to be between $33 and $34 a square foot. And again, the church comps adjusted are going to come out about $52 a foot. We weight those a little bit to push to a value, $42 to $43 a foot. You're a little under $3 million if that's one of the uses. Single-family development, again, much lower price that it's going to put out the other side of the mill because of the cost of demolition in the lots. That would be beautiful as an infill single-family neighborhood and a very good use. Just economically, for the seller, it makes the least sense.
And I would say there's also some challenges. It's an irregular shaped lot. In the event you raise the building, it's challenging to get multiple means of ingress and egresses, a street thoroughfare through there, which just is a reduction in the lot yield at the end of the day.
It is an odd cut, and I've always wondered how we acquired a land with such an odd cut.
Yeah, if you looked at the aerial, all of the fields around it, let's say in a hypothetical situation, all of those who are involved, obviously the density and the lot yield would increase drastically, but a lot of it's due to the fact that you can get a road through there and make it work in a much stronger and a manner that makes a lot more sense, I would say, because it's tough. How you almost have to do a C or reverse C here to make it work and squeeze in some irregular shaped lots throughout.
Yeah, oddly shaped parcels always they don't yield as much,
makes
right?
sense.
Another thought too that might be useful as you're thinking about these in terms of single family is conventional wisdom currently is that a normal subdivision, street, sewer, water, curb, sidewalk, plan on it costing about $1,500 per lineal foot of street to get infrastructure in. And then if you have any street without lots on both sides, those costs are not double loaded, they're single loaded. So that's just why there's so much cost involved in that.
There's another angle to this as well, and it skews more so. It's a blend between single family as well as multifamily. Build to rent housing, I'm sure you guys are familiar. There's groups out there, so like Heyday, they have a development out in Cottage Grove. It looks from an aerial view just like a single family development. Most likely it's tighter lots as well. That is a tweener option that could be allowed here that kind of blurs the line between multifamily scale, but at single family development aesthetics.
Okay.
Good thought. Yep. So 47, pulling our values together on Taylor, you're going to see a range of, $3 a square foot for single family because it's just skewed. Comparable sales, the blending of other schools and churches, $43 a foot, or just straight up comparable, a sale to a municipality, a little over $20 a foot. So project accordingly. Pause before.
Yeah, questions about Taylor Prairie? Okay.
Excellent. We're moving.
BGS.
BGS, 470 North Main Street. Another unique SWOT analysis. You've got some interesting bits here because the land, you'll see if you look at the photo on the right, you're encumbered by wetlands and primary environmental corridors, which are wonderful as buffers. They're very pretty. We need wetlands. I'm a big fan of them. They don't play well with achieving maximum value because you can't do anything with them, right? They're valuable because they're there and they are good for our water and our ecosystems. But look at the connectivity and where things go. You do have Taylor Street and all residential running to the south. You've got multi to the north and pretty high traffic counts on Taylor. So this felt a little bit more like a development piece, we thought. So again, property profile, we have the acreage, we have the building square footage, net acreage, which you're going to see is smaller because we're trying to, best we can, subtract the unusable portions. And then there's this kind of landlocked 25 acres on the west side. Could be something, but maybe not. If it is developable, it probably has a high water table and would have some excessive development costs because of that, because it's so pretty. So $20.40 a foot, that's going to be a little over 1.7 million. Comparable sales, again, between 33 and 34 gets you to 2.8 million and change. The church comps, $51 a foot. It's a big building. That gets us to about 4.3 million. Again, you have to find a church that'll pay that. So we blend together our church comps and our school comps to get the blended price per square foot of $43. Development scenario, this is another one that could go a lot of different ways if there were approvals available because of the surrounding uses. Greg and Ashley made a nice model. Yeah, I'll let you speak to it. This one's got a little more detail.
Yeah, this was an interesting one out of all the properties that we valued. Reason being is it's one of the smaller buildings of the groupings. It also has a lot of land, a lot of excess land. So you'll see in this multifamily development, if you can just imagine that aerial view with the wetland delineation on as well. This multifamily development, the unit yield is taken off of everything directly to the west of that wetland. It's assuming that everything directly to the east of that wetland is not being utilized. Could it be utilized in a multifamily development scenario? Potentially. They might have a use out of it, and maybe they could fit some BTR builds back there, so single family or townhouses potentially, since it's a skinnier piece of land. But that takes, so if you look at a group like Continental, right, their Authentics line, which is directly to the north, that's a garden style. They do it in multiple phases, and they won't touch anything that's below 15 acres. But that's like one of their lines. There's a group in Milwaukee, like Newland, for example. They've just recently been doing some townhouses, but they specialize in podium construction, which is your 3 stories over 1 story construction type. So it depends on the developer, and that's why we didn't make the assumption of capturing the land directly to the east of the wetland, and we only utilize everything west of the wetland on the multifamily development. Single family development's a different story.
Can you touch on the zoning code and the difference here now that we're in Cottage Grove?
Yeah. It's also tricky here. They do not follow a planned density parameter here, similar to Monona, actually. They look at it from a per development basis. So I think their unit yield is derived from what can fit on here and does it fit within the aesthetic of the community as well. I would imagine this scenario, we would really only have 2 comps here, and that's the Continental, which is directly to the north of us, and then Heyday, which I actually mentioned previously, who you can really consider them a multifamily developer at scale. They won't build anything less than 100 units, I believe, last time we spoke with them. So you can look at it as a subdivision of sorts, but they're cramming in a lot of units. And this is really big out in Southwest, in Texas. They're doing a lot of these BTR communities as well. And it's just now coming into Wisconsin area too. And Madison, being a popular area within Wisconsin, they're coming to Madison as well.
So in short, it's performance zoning that the community uses, and it kind of gives them the right to just start over on every single project, right? Without precedent, without a lot of history. Everything is a completely new deal,
right.
And that can be good and bad.
And really,
A lot about.
I know.
Some
Had an epiphany.
Yeah, me too.
And it's really-
There's been a lot of, as you know, here as well as in Cottage Grove, there's been a lot of development. So looking back at you, Casey, that explains a number of things.
if we don't have clear density parameters, all we can really look at is precedent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the precedent we have are these 2 developments here. And
Okay.
you'll notice that they're at 10 units per acre and 7 units per acre. Just averaged it out.
Yeah.
It's the best we could do.
Single family model, we're on page 55 now. Again, it would be gorgeous. It would be great. It's going to yield the lowest price. It would be a bigger subdivision, 152-ish lots, we anticipate, if everything went perfectly. And you can just see our math, Demo cost, again, projected out at $8 a square foot. So,
I will say, this is the one property, though, that comes close to multifamily development in scale, simply because it's not the largest building in terms of demo costs. And you have a lot of excess land, as I mentioned previously, so you're able to get that unit yield to detract or pull from the high demo costs.
conclusions, pulling them together, you're going to see a range, again, comps or city sale, $20 a foot, all the way up to $43 a foot. And this one, again, is harder to predict because it could be multiple different uses on the back end. Okay.
Questions about, yes, Tanya.
Go back to the aerial view. So we'll have to send you the documents, but at some point, this was put into a DNR green space.
Ah,
Yeah. For $35,000, and it's gonna, for the rest of our life.
so it's deed restricted then?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
thank you for that.
The section with the baseball diamond.
Yeah.
Here, that was for our traffic solution issue, so that's in that, and then as you said, this is wetland, this is the school forest, so we've got this zone in there, that's kind of.
No utility. Thank you for that.
I'll send you the.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I mean,
I don't know if Greg has an eraser with him, but you can edit that.
Yeah.
But there may be some value to the land, to the east of the wetlands, though, too, on the other side, north of Taylor,
Yes.
potentially.
Yes.
So-
I would say most definitely there is. I would, on a multifamily deal, you could phase it out. Like, look at Continental directly to the north, they're authentics. You can see how it's all garden style, so there's multiple separate types of buildings, and they phase them out. So something like that could be done, and that deed restricted area where the baseball diamond is, that could just be used for, I guess, whatever they deem that's not developable for rentable units. Depends on the deed restriction, though, I will say.
yeah, well, Tanya can get that to you. Yeah, that was a.
Surprise.
Yep.
Granite Ridge?
Great. Any other questions? No, that was perfect.
Okay.
So you'll notice, if you go up to the slide previously, these properties are pretty similar in terms of scope, scale, and size. So the SWOT analysis was bulked together. It was a thought process behind it.
Great, thank you.
This one's a little more straightforward. You've got a nice square level 16.7 acre parcel immediately north. It doesn't appear to be providing any utility to the school's functions. So it's a separate tax key also. So that's easy. That's low hanging fruit if someone wanted to monetize it. So current zoning, SR4. So that's going to be single residential, I believe 4 per acre gross density. it's always hard when you see a school or a building that's so new and you're talking about modeling, taking
Yeah.
it down, but it's just the math and going through the steps. So a little over 131,000 feet. You got 343 of grounds on it, 46 acres. There's the 2 tax keys. So
Yep, so you'll notice on this slide, there's an increase in value on a per square foot basis, simply because it's a newer school and a newer vintage.
Dennis?
Then why does it say under weaknesses that it's an aging facility? Like,
Because it was grouped in with the other one. With
does it say that?
The scale.
and so I still have a problem with, slight problem with that. Like Winnequah is, and this building are pretty old, right? But like Glacial Drumlin was built in 2008. Like that's not that old. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
School standards.
yeah, right. So like when I think aging, I think like, oh my gosh, it's like Maywood where a lot of things are falling apart. And I guess I was looking for more gray in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. That's fair.
Yeah.
good point. No,
That's fair feedback, I think.
very much so, and we're happy to expand it. It's one of the challenges is once you each major component of a building has a useful life, and this is used in the tax code for depreciation, and then it's just used for modeling. So, for instance, rooftop units or heating units, typically 15 years, sometimes 20. Roofs, if they're membrane, 25 years, and if it's a little bit too much of a catch-all phrase we used, and I apologize for that, because if someone's going to use a different use but keep the building and that requires a rezone, now the building inspectors get full on make them do everything current. Even if it's 15 years old, it's pretty new, but the code has changed. You have to change everything. One of the biggest offenders on that is sprinkler systems, how they're powered, how they're maintained,
Yeah, it's
what they're
actually a problem
used.
that we have at Maywood.
Yeah, so we probably do owe you more detail on that. I apologize for that.
About $10 million worth of capital improvements that have to be made at Glacial Drumlin.
Yeah. It was, I understand that. It was just that, like, the same term was like for buildings that are older than me,
Yeah.
and then one that's a heck of a lot younger than me.
Right.
Great way to
Me both.
Well, excuse me.
Some of us are aging differently than others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's fair feedback, particularly when we're thinking about kind of just like, right, because we're a school, we're in the business of serving youth and families in our community. And so
Right.
thinking about kind of how we think about age, right, and useful life versus, I think a developer is different. So
Yeah.
I think having some of that gray area there is helpful for.
If you're an accountant, that building wears out in 39 years, no matter how old it is or looks or
Right.
functions.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you.
While we're paused, can I ask a question about the 16.7 acres, the only square lot apparently we own? There has been, speaking of kind of urban legends and discussion, there's been a lot of discussion previously with previous administration and previous boards around that actually being wetland, but I didn't see a wetland like tag in the property profile, so is it not?
It wasn't captured on our delineation.
Okay.
I think the grade is more of the issue. Like it's wet, but then there's the grade.
And
Did
'cause
you
it's
have
so
this in
steep.
here somewhere about selling that as its own? The 16.
Well, we made reference that it would be easy to do because it's geometric and it's a separate tax key already.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a certified survey map. It doesn't require a zoning to sell it. It would be quick and easy if that's something you wanted to do.
That's great.
Did you have that separated out for like an estimated cost? I believe we did. Okay. I thought I saw it. I'm just not looking at it right now.
No, we definitely did on this one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
That's certainly come up in our conversation a number of times, so.
60, yes, we're aligned on our page numbers. $20.40 a foot with the same comp set puts you a little over $3 million. Comparable school sales here, 34 and change. Again, there was an adjustment for age on that one. So we ended up a little over $5 million, $39 a square foot. Single-family development, this could be, pretty substantial. It's going to be a positive number, yet still far below the other uses, but probably one of the most likely outcomes. 130 lots. If you see the right column, excess acreage only, that is where it's split out separately. So, good on that, Greg?
Yeah, and again, you'll just notice that, it's 1.7 million and just over 1 million. Reason being is demo costs are exorbitant for a large building.
Yep. No demo on the field, obviously, right?
Right.
So 63, pulling the values together, you're going to be anywhere from $23 a foot to, vacant land over $53,000 an acre. And yeah, this one has the most flexibility for disposition, really. Pausing.
Questions about Granite Ridge? Okay, last but certainly not least, Glacial Drumlin, its neighbor.
Glacial Drumlin School, 801 Damascus. So,
Square-ish.
right, yeah, mostly square-ish. And again, residential.
Trapezoid, I guess?
Yeah, geometric, we'll go with. Residential on three sides, stub streets to the east, and again, age 2008, right, old-ish, but got 290,000 square feet of parking, little under 30 acres. It's on one tax key. $20.40 a foot puts it at about 3.4 million, just under. Comparable sales, little under $35 a foot. You're over 5.6 million. Single family development, again, demo clobbers us. You're going to end up, combining the sites, you're going to be 474, right? So you can see our math and how we plow it through. So on page 69, pulling those values together, you're going to see a pretty wide range, but at least we're trying to explain why it's a wide range. And that is the last asset. I hope we didn't go too fast or too slow, but we understand there's an attention span and.
Yeah, no, I think that this is great. And the nice thing is that our monthly board meetings are recorded so folks can go back and watch certain sections again and those pieces. Any questions about GDS?
Can I ask a question going back to the Granite Ridge?
Yes.
So I was just circling around with the separation of the value of the 16.7 acres separately. Did I miss that?
It's on 62.
It's kind of embedded
column.
in.
It's a separate column.
Table, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Pull it up and then, sorry, I'll talk on the mic. Can you pull it up and then?
Oh, the land yield.
Yeah.
Excess acreage only
Yep. So that's then that parcel that's 16 and change, right?
to the north.
Important to note, campus,
Yep.
acreage, and exit is both of them together. Right. Correct.
Talk to me about that. That was my question.
The developers one?
Yeah, the 1 million and then the.
It was challenging because we noticed on Streetscape when we were going through, it looks like it was pitched a lot. So that was an attempt to account for excess grading that must occur as a result. It also
That's
appears.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the two main concerns about that space was one, that it actually could be wetland, and two, that it's pitched it's very, very steep.
Those
And
are
will
things.
require a lot of backfilling in order to.
And grading,
Yep,
right,
yep.
exactly. So we just try our best to highlight that and make it known. If excess grading is not required, then of course you might be able to achieve the top figure within the box. But it's beneficial to look at it as a range,
Yeah.
depending on grading, just in case.
Other questions? Well, thank you for taking so much time with us today to explain all of these pieces. It was really helpful. Obviously, you can read the documents, but it's helpful to sort of just have some FaceTime with you all to do it.
Very much.
I appreciate your attention to some of the pieces that we asked. I think there are a couple of switches for you all to do or other places to look. I don't know, were you capturing that or Tish? To make sure that the docs are updated ahead of our workshop? Yes, Janice.
If I had a few more things, I could send them and, yeah.
Yeah, so if you think of questions or clarifications or things that you need between now and next week, please email them to Tanya so she can make sure that we have all the information ahead of our discussion next week. And then we'll have a subsequent discussion in May too. So this is lots of opportunities to think of questions.
So the work session will go through different things and find out what more information you may need. And I mean, it's open to the public, but not posted for public comment and not recorded.
Correct.
Because it's a
Because of workshop.
workshop. Never are.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Excellent. Thanks for giving us the opportunity, and good luck with it. We're here to help.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sure you'll be hearing some follow-up from us, so. Okay.
All right, we're going to keep with the theme.
All right, so moving on to G2, Administrative Report, Cottage Grove School traffic loop information.
Yeah, so we did get approval from the from the Cottage Grove Village to go ahead with the traffic circle.
Great. Thank you to the village for
Yeah.
agreeing and supporting that.
Yep. They did ask us to do a traffic study, but we didn't leave with clarity of at what point. Project's not contingent on it. I think
Didn't they just do one recently?
Yes, but they wanted, so I think what we are going to circle back around and where we end up is once it's up and going,
I see.
do a traffic study then.
Right, that makes sense, to see if there's any new pattern.
Correct. And then.
Casey, like,
I
as
know,
if he
like,
could
you
be
know.
here and give me
Exactly.
information on behalf of the board, or yeah.
So my understanding is because if they have to do any sort of a traffic, solution, like lights or something, then like what part of that would be our responsibility?
Great.
So,
Are you going to run through this presentation? I think a couple of things that would be helpful, just because we've gotten a lot of questions in the community about this, understandably so, is around just kind of the safety, particularly because the way the cut is going to go is sort of partially through or adjacent to the current playground. And
so one of the things that we needed to work through from an engineering perspective is what was the impact of doubling the population of kids in the building going to have on exits and entry, kids coming in, kids going out at the top of the day and the end of the day. And then the traffic loop that goes back around the building. There's always been kind of a haphazard path, but it does cut through the parking lot, the playground around the back. So lots of people have experienced that as a family and are like, what's happening? That's the right. So just going through a couple of the changes that we made around start time, entry and exit, and then the plan. So if you want to keep going. So obviously we have to do some layers of support. So we're really looking at what are the infrastructure changes that we need to do, and then also what are procedural shifts? Like how do we need to have kids enter and exit? And then also thinking about what does that eliminate. We've got this weird unmonitored time. I think some families feel like it's a school. There's always people there. We'll just. Really don't like to hear my voice.
I was going to say, who's got it on? Someone's got it on YouTube at the same time. Thank you.
Tech support.
Right.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Broke my stride. So feeling like what those changes have to look for. So we do have kids that will, schools, the doors technically at 7:45 and kids come, that's when they should be getting dropped off. But as early as 7:30, 7:25, they'll be unsupervised first and second graders out on that playground, which is not okay. So we need to do some rethinking about that. So some perimeter fencing will be put in to separate buses and cars, because that's the best design, is to make sure that those have some separation. There'll be restriction gates. So that loop is primarily for emergency vehicles and buses. So there'll be entrance and exit gates on each end. Those would be up for arrival, and then down for the day, and then back up for dismissal at the end of the day. So the playground will be closed during those times. And then obviously it will be marked, no traffic except emergency vehicles and things like that. And then the other piece is there's, as buses are exiting to the south, obviously there's fence for the playground, traffic path, and then a guardrail, and then a retaining wall to keep that there, because it's pretty tight, because right there's the cemetery.
Yep.
So, as far as arriving, wanting to make sure that staff arrives at 7:25. We would start accepting students at 7:30. There'll be staff in the back supporting the bus drop-off, and staff in the front supporting car drop-off. And walkers, because we'll want all walkers to come on the sidewalk and enter in the front. They can't be coming from the back, because that's where the buses would be. There will be bus supervision in the back to watch for that, but we'll need to do heavy promotion of how we want that to happen. 7:30 to 7:45, kind of that soft start, that first 15 minutes. School officially starts at 7:45. So opportunity for kids to get in the building, put their stuff away, go get their breakfast, kind of get settled. And then 7:45, the bell rings. So really want to get to a point where we've got some real specific drop-off and pickup procedures with supervision, and reminding families that there's nobody on site supervising kids before 7:30, so that if people are making good decisions about that. So controlled access, like I said, restricted, and then separating that exit of buses and cars. And then midday expectations would be, we do have 4K middle of the day where we get that afternoon drop off and morning pickup, all those things. And so they'll use the front because we need the playground to be open and the gates down.
Okay, so they'll go through the parking lot.
Yep. And then obviously the EMS, emergency use. It's not a public shortcut. Okay. Afternoon, same thing. We would have the playground would be closed at 2:35, which is typically normal. Kids are it takes a long time for littles to get all their gear on, especially in the winter, to have them come out. And then at 2:45, buses in the rear, car pickup in the front, and then, the walkers, families that meet at that front door. And then after 2:45, then the playground would be, back open and for wrap care, in addition to, just family and community that just go play on the playground. So, great. Yeah. So, there was some concern about why we didn't do the in loop and then back out loop, but it really, it was the DNR property.
Yeah.
We could figure out a way around that, but it was going to be tight. And also, when we met with all of the municipality emergency services, they really are like, nope, if this was a new building, this is what we'd be doing. And if we have the opportunity, that we want it. And then obviously the fences will be slatted, so there's visual transparency, so you can have that sight and sound kind of supervision. And then obviously, like I said, part of it's the infrastructure of the loop, but the other part is just, you got to change processes. The good thing is the only group of families that are going to have to switch up their brain are incoming second graders.
Yeah.
So, because they're current first graders, everyone else be moving on and everyone else coming over. I think then if you click that open, so the map that we originally were working with was kind of this is a PDF. You can't open the PDF? Great. Okay.
Oh, click on the orange.
Yeah, you can't click on the orange.
Works for me.
Yeah, it works for me too. Maybe I think you have to get out of the slideshow and then click it.
Should be able to do it right in it.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, look at how smart you are.
Oh, look how small it is.
Tech support times 2
Yeah, let's see
today.
how big you can make that. Okay. So buses will enter there. And there's a gate. And then you can't see from the back, but if you look at it at some point, there's a red strip between the bus lane and the cars. That will be a fence as an added.
Just safety.
Just a barrier, right?
Yeah.
Because they're little and, sometimes you walk off the sidewalk. And so, that will be there. And then the cars will be
Doing the
coming
normal
here. They'll be doing an S and then ending on that side is where kids will get off and then walk this way like they do and then enter there. Buses will come in and then come back around here, and the back door will be right here with staff, and they'll come in that way, so they're open to the butt door opens to the building. And then there is a fence that will run from this all the way to here, and there'll be a gate here and a gate there. And this is the lower we call it the lower playground. It's for the littles. And then back here is more playground space. And that's the part where we need to make sure when this is open, these are closed during the school day.
Yep.
So, and then on this side is where we talked about there will be guardrails from here to here, and then a little bit of green, and then there'll be a fence. another layer of support. Oh, not a fence, it's a wall.
Yeah, it's a retaining wall.
Yeah. So, but guardrail and then retaining wall.
Yeah.
Just a clarifying question. So the back playground, the one that's to the east, yeah. So when the buses, during drop-off, when there's bus traffic coming through there, is there a planned fence that would prevent anybody from attempting to access that?
You have to run a fence the whole way because you can get to it from this neighborhood. Well, this back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
right
guess
there.
more I meant from that entrance near the lower playground. Like if you were a kid on the lower playground and
Oh, yeah, you can't get out.
Okay.
There'll be a gate here and a gate here
Okay. Got it.
to get in and out of the lower playground.
Okay.
Which will be nice because wrap care then, well, a couple things. This part of the building is where 4K will be, and wrap care will be like here, I think here. And so they're on that end of the building, and then they'll be able to, at the end of the day, if we're going outside and stuff, it's super close and it's fenced in even for just a regular day.
So lower playground is captive basically when the bus. Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Great.
Any questions?
No questions. I just wanted to thank the village again for approving it. This will be great. And then we can start construction once school gets out.
Yeah, they're ready to go. They've got a timeline and feel that they shouldn't have any issue having it done before staff come back for back to work, and then for the open house.
That sounds great. Okay. All right, so moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided.
Presented.
There it is.
Oh my gosh.
Second.
Okay. Voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, ayes have it. Consent agenda is approved. We did Celebration of Excellence already. Elsa was not able to be here today. She had another obligation, but she did put her, as always, robust and informational report into board docs. So please read that if you haven't already. And now we'll move on to public appearances. We have several today. All right, so first up is Kristen, is it Frick or Fricky?
Kirsten Fricky.
Okay, Kirsten Fricky. Oh, it's spelled wrong in the, I'm assuming Kirsten is K-I-R.
Yeah, I'm a child of the 80s, so
Yeah.
all versions.
Hi, Kirsten, welcome.
Thank you. So my name is Kirsten Fricky, and I am a mother to a second grader at Winnequah School. And I am here to share my concerns about space at Winnequah. So like many community members, I've been troubled by the potential sale of Maywood and Nichols. And while researching the impact of these sales, it sort of really opened my eyes to a lot of current concerns at Winnequah, now that I've been doing more comparisons between all of the schools. And it's something that I think has really, it impacts the safety, equity, and the educational experience of students at Winnequah, which was built in 1963. And from the documents that you all have been presented, analysis of that space, it really talked about it being a legacy school and a focus being on classroom space versus common space. And I think that anyone who has spent time at Winnequah School can really see how that has impacted the functionality of the space. The hallways, cafeteria, library, gym, playground space, and resource spaces are undersized for our current enrollment. And this is supported by data that you all provided with the capacity report from EUA in November. And one of the quotes that they had was that there's a significant discrepancy between gross square footage capacity and the other two measures of capacity at the high school, Glacial Drumlin School, Cottage Grove, and Winnequah. This could suggest that common spaces, circulation, or support spaces may be undersized. So I would say by this report, it shows that Winnequah is already operating over capacity, particularly in our common spaces. And this is something that I think anyone who has spent time in the school, we already know, and when we go to navigate that space. I am able to volunteer at the school, so I've been able to sort of be there regularly to see how the spaces are used. And in particular, I have some of my observations. So having limited resource rooms means that the hallways are always being used as flex space for one-on-one sessions. That's where I spend my time volunteering. And sitting there for hours all year, the hallways are narrow. There's always shoes and belongings scattered about. It's a trip hazard. Everyone does their best, but it's just a very narrow space. And it just makes me wonder how, in an emergency, how can everyone evacuate safely, particularly if we're adding more students. Another concern is in it's lunchtime, basically. So in the winter, students have to get on all their winter gear before they're going to lunch. I timed it over several weeks, and there were students who were having between like 13 and 16 minutes where the last student went in and then when they got up is when I timed it to leave. And that's not a lot of time if they're in line to get lunch and they are navigating getting all their gear on. It's better now because they don't have their winter stuff. So they're sort of at the 16 to 20 minute range, which again is still a pretty tight turnaround. There's also 6 lunch periods with students starting at 10:50 in the morning with our first lunch and then after 1 o'clock. So it's not a lot of time and it's really weird times for them to be eating. On rainy and cold days, students have recess inside and have to figure out whether they can go to the gym, cafeteria, or stay in their classrooms. In the winter, this was weeks of indoor recess, and I know that puts a huge strain on our students and teachers, and trying to juggle all of those spaces that are not big enough even for the regular uses, then you're adding on, indoor recess. Playground is small and doesn't support our students, especially as they get older and need more space. And school pickup is chaos. It was interesting seeing that presentation, and I appreciate your emphasis on safety, but that's something that I have a lot of concerns at our pickup. We have cars dropping off, people are walking past, you have to walk across the pickup line to get to a car. There's not enough spaces. It's weaves throughout the neighborhood. It's really challenging. So I guess knowing all of this, it's still sort of surprising to me that there is an estimate of Winnequah School absorbing over 100 more students than it currently has, given the constraints we already see. We're on one of the smallest lots. I've seen your proposals around, we can add classrooms on the back by the library, or maybe we reconfigure the classrooms on the lower level, and that doesn't do anything to solve any of the issues with the common space. So I think while you might be able to squeeze it in, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what is in the best interest of our students and the faculty and staff who work there. So I guess I have some questions. And part of that is how are you all going to be working with students, faculty, and staff to gather data about how the school is used, particularly before moving ahead with selling a property and thinking that, we'll just add spaces. I am curious about your reasoning behind determining that we can accommodate 719 students, because I just don't see how that makes sense given what I've seen. And then what measures would you be taking to ensure safety as enrollment expands? We had a lot of weather this week. Can you fit 719 students and all of the support staff and faculty in that one lower level? Is that the space that people go? I don't know. I'm curious. Where is everyone going? Can you assure that any additions or renovations to Winnequah School include expansion of common space? And then how the lunch schedule, it's just ridiculous. What can be done to make it an easier time for students to actually sit and eat their lunch? And then how will you make school pickup safer? Can we add sidewalks? They renovated that parking lot like 5 years ago? Totally redid it, and then didn't add a sidewalk, didn't add all this stuff. And this was before I had a kid, and now I'm just like, we're spending money on that, and then it doesn't work. So it just doesn't make sense. Or at the very least, can we limit parking on both sides of Greenway during pickup and drop-off time, particularly drop-off or pickup time, so that you at least don't have the congestion there and it's safer. But if you have never spent time at pickup, I encourage you, spend some time at pickup. It is, as much as our staff really do their best at that school. It doesn't work.
Kirsten, you're at time, so I just want to let you. Okay, you can conclude if you have a conclusion.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kirsten. All right, next up we have Sue Carr, who was not able to attend but has requested that we read her public comment out loud. So Tish is going to be our audio narrator today. Thank you, Tish.
Good evening. I appreciate the work you do on behalf of the district. And as someone who's been involved in this district for almost 30 years, I can say that this board and administration is currently one of the most transparent, open, and clear in terms of communication that I have seen. That is much appreciated. Of course, I'm here tonight about screens. I appreciate the steps that have been taken. Angie Fassel did a parent survey that was very well received and I think reflected the concerns the parents have about our kids and screens, both inside and out of school. The adoption of GoGuardian Parent Portal is great. I encourage all of our schools to continue to educate parents about how to gain knowledge about their kids' time on individual screens during school. For the parents in the room, you can download the GoGuardian Parent app in the App Store and sign in with the same email address that you use for Infinite Campus and connect with your child's individual screen use. As always, I'm here with concerns about our kids ages 4K through 3rd grade. I have not yet been able to get statistics from the district via GoGuardian about the average amount of time kids are spending. But from what I have seen from lots of individual parents looking at their kids' data, kids are spending a lot of time on screens. Our friends in McFarland are moving away from one-to-one device for kids in the younger age. In that district, kids will be checking out iPads from their teachers for specific tasks. I encourage our district for both educational and mental health reasons, but also for financial reasons, to look at adopting a similar policy. But I am also concerned about the near constant use of what I call a smart board. I know it has a new name. Some members of the board have called that a modern day chalkboard, meaning that it is used the same way as a chalkboard was used back in my day. I disagree. Having been an early childhood educator for 25 years, I will share that one of the key components of EC is summed up in a very often used phrase, connection before correction. This is to remind us that the most important part of school at any age, but especially for young kids, is relationships. Relationships between adults and children and between children. One of my greatest parts of my current job as a teacher of 3-year-olds and the director of a school which serves 100 families of kids 2 to 5 is reading and sharing a book with kids. Kids have so much to share and so much to question and so much to engage with when sharing a really good book. When a book is read on a screen by a person with no connection to the students, we are missing out on a relationship building, inquisition, comprehension, and the shared joy of discovering a new book. I'm really hoping that this district can adopt policies that lean into only active use of the big screen for important, critical, curriculum-related things, and not use it for things like read-alouds, timers, brain breaks, movement activities, and other things that can be done with a human-to-human connection. Another part of my job that I really love is snack time. This is a time when we share a snack together and share and chat about our day, our family, our favorite things, our pets, or, because my kiddos are 3 and 4, a variety of other topics. When you combine screen watching with meals and snacks and indoor recess, you take away that opportunity for connection. There is a huge body of evidence in this country that our kiddos are on screens too much. Because of what we are seeing a rise in mental health concerns about ability to focus on something that's not constantly moving, flashing, or making a noise. Concerns about social emotional skills and the ability of kids to connect appropriately with other kids. I would love to see this district make a real commitment to making screens the exception instead of the rule and adopting policies that focus on kids connecting to one another and to their teacher. And I know that there are plans for PD and for teacher guidance along these lines, but I also really believe in policies. It makes expectations and consequences clear and provides more provides a more clear outline for staff about the appropriate use of technology. So again, while I appreciate the work being done, I'm going to restate that I would love to see this district, 1, change the policy about one-to-one devices in grades 4K through 3. 2, eliminate the use of the big screens for read-alouds, lunch, snack time, movement, activities, and indoor recess. And 3, allow for parents to opt out for the use of screens for movie day or individually for non-educational purposes and provide active, engaging alternatives. I appreciate your work very much, and I look forward to hearing what's next.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, Tish, for reading that. Next up is Kathy Carew. Hi, Kathy, welcome back.
Hello, my name is Kathy Carew, born and raised in Monona. For 20 years, I was a paraprofessional for the school district, working at Taylor Prairie, GDS, and Winnequah. I would like to talk about Maywood. I watched the last school board meeting and also the city council meeting held on November 12th of 2025. At this meeting, the city's budgets are presented from each department. I focused on the Park and Recreation Director's explanation of the use of Maywood and the partnership with the school district. At Maywood, the Parks Department runs 3 programs: after school, 4K wraparound, and it's the headquarters for the summer camp, plus a no school fun days when school isn't in session. And they also have evening and weekend class offerings. The city of Monona leases Maywood from the school district at a cost of $5,000 a month. The city takes care of mowing, snow removal, and tree trimming. The school district covers the utilities, assigns a janitor for cleaning, and has some staff that runs a district program called MG Futures, located in Maywood, for about 5 to 7 students. In the Park and Rec budget presented at this council meeting and in the reports, you can see that the Park and Rec Department received in 2025 revenue of $1,059,000 from these programs. Plus, there's a revenue from the weekend and the evening programs. It's the most revenue generated by any program in the city. Of course, there are many expenses, but with that amount of revenue, maybe it's time to renegotiate the terms of the lease agreement and make it so that at least we break even, or even better yet, come out ahead. With such successful programs, I was wondering what the city was thinking about if the district sold Maywood. There is talk about the city maybe buying Maywood, but the thing is, the taxpayers already own it. If the school district owns it, we own it, and Cottage Grove owns it. We'd be buying it from ourselves. And as my grandson would say, no, not. If the district sells it to the developer, the Parks and Recreation will have no place to go except back to the community center, and there again, getting waiting lists, while lowering their revenue, and this is not good either. Because of the partnership the school district and the city of Monona have, we can highlight to prospective home buyers and families, or with families, that we offer amazing programs to fill in after school and summertime needs. Huge issues for young families. Another fantastic reason to move to Monona and keep enrollment up. It seems we would be destroying something that is very successful and to our community as a whole, very valuable. And if we keep Maywood as a district building, we can address overcrowding at Winnequah by bringing 4K and K back to Maywood alongside the city's programs. But they're going to do a Cottage Grove. 4K is already there anyway. Winnequah is crowded in many ways that can't be solved by just adding more classrooms, like someone here said. And I want to give you an example, and it's a safety one. In 2018, that was my last year working for the district, and I was at Winnequah. It was early spring, and we were having our tornado drill. I was following the kindergartners to their safety locations, which is actually a tunnel in the lower level. Kids love to go there.
I bet.
Students also go to the old boys and girls locker rooms and to the music room, which is pretty big. Everything was going smoothly. Kids totally quiet, hands to themselves, moving along. Then as we were coming down the stairs, there was a total stop. Something that should have just taken a few minutes turned into tens of minutes. Not good. I went to find out why the line had stopped. It turns out there were just so many students moving into this space, the tunnel, and the teachers had to be careful about getting everybody as tight as possible, and they were sitting on the floor with their knees up, cheek to cheek, and it just took a lot of time. Overcrowding is not just adding classrooms to relieve it. And seeing how successful Maywood is working out, what if we took that idea to Taylor Prairie? They have no community center and no library. To open it up for more options for families and clubs and so on could be very profitable for the district. Taylor Prairie is an educational community building, not a business building. Here at Nichols, the district office was created with many dollars to become a business building. And it should remain so. I would vote for selling some of the extra properties we own instead of selling Maywood or Nichols. Yes, Maywood needs some upgrades, but I think for many number of reasons it would be the right thing to do. And what I've heard, it is not as bad as it has been presented. A little bit about advocacy.
Just really quick to wrap up, Kelly, because you're over time. So if you just want to.
It's a little bit, but I think it's really important because I was totally lost and I spent a lot of time pulling this together for hopefully other community members. And it's good news.
Well, I like good news, so.
At the last school board meeting, I heard 7 times that the community should advocate for some of the surplus of tax dollars to be returned back to our school districts and that we should contact our representatives. I wasn't sure who that was or how it worked. What I learned is the State Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu and State Assembly Speaker Robin Voss are the ones who meet with the governor and do the negotiations. They are getting close to an agreement which includes more monies going into special education reimbursements. They are still negotiating about lowering property taxes and increasing school funding. So something is happening. It should be positive for us. They are not in session now, but they are still working on it. Our representatives are Senator Kelda Royce for our State District 26 and Sheila Stubbs for Assembly in our local District 78. These 2 Democrats already feel the same way we do, but maybe a call to the Majority Leader, Devin LeMay, who is holding back more than Robin Voss, will help move this along. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your advocacy. All right, next up, Becky Fowler. Hello, Becky. Welcome.
For having me back.
Always.
I'm Becky Fowler, mother of 3, 2 at Winnequah. I'm going to keep this very fast. The members of the Save Our Schools group are aware that we have made many requests of the board over the last several months with the aim of answering important questions about the implications of a sale of the Maywood and Nichols property. In the spirit of transparency and accountability, we intend to repeat the list of outstanding requests at each meeting in hopes that this just makes things easier for everyone involved. So the outstanding list is as follows, and I can send this to you guys via email, so don't write this down. A comprehensive long-term financial analysis of the district's 10-year plan that incorporates the implications of selling the properties, including all moving costs and renovation costs for relocating programs to new locations. Financial trade-offs of selling both schools. What level of revenue would justify giving up the asset? Another one is a 20-year facilities plan, something that the Elmbrook School District does, which I'm familiar with, and I think a lot of school districts do it, but I mentioned Elmbrook because Tanya, from the Elmbrook School District, and I think it's a great idea and an important one. Define actual target operating capacity for Winnequah. Reexamine and confirm the enrollment projections, including historical and standard error, and confirm if future new students have been accounted for from the new apartment buildings being built in Monona. A list of other alternative solutions that have been investigated as options instead of selling the properties, including selling the multiple vacant properties in Cottage Grove, and what land swap discussions have taken place between Monona and the district. As a reminder, for the sake of all the kids in the district, if you do not have the answers to these questions, you are not equipped to make a decision regarding the sale of these properties. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, next up is Jamie Erickson Bunker. Are they here? Oh, okay, sorry. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jamie Erickson Bunker. I am a Monona Grove graduate. I am a mom of 3 MG graduates, and I currently have a second grader at Winnequah. I have long ties to the district. I actually went to Winnequah way back when the Cottage Grove kids came here for middle school. I live and work locally as a real estate agent, so I follow the housing market very, very closely. There's a generational shift happening in Monona right now. There has been for a couple of years, but it's pretty big right now. In my neighborhood 10 years ago, my big kids were some of the only kids. Today, it's full of young families. We're seeing turnover, new buyers, and renewed demand. Some of that doesn't show up in MLS data or Zillow data, as a lot of the homes are being passed within families, but we're also seeing it in public sales. Monona saw a 28% increase in home sales in 2025 compared to 2024. In real time right now, 58% of the homes currently under contract had multiple offers, so multiple people bidding on the same house, because people want to live here. Single-family sales are up 21% from this time last year. There's also multiple housing developments underway, which you know, but including condos and townhouses with more waiting for approvals. And families are part of that growth, regardless of the housing type, because people want to live in our district. And if they can't buy a house, they will live in an apartment or a townhouse or whatever. I'm not confident that the current projections fully capture the growth we're starting to see. In reviewing Collier's report on Maywood, I noticed the Green Bay school sales are labeled as municipal purchases, but they were actually sold to a private developer and a private individual, not the city. I'm only bringing that up because the accuracy of the valuation. I am curious if they walked through the buildings. In that report, it states it's not an appraisal. And if the CG Smith findings are accurate, it raises serious questions about whether an $800,000 value is realistic in the current condition. And I have to agree with Kathy. Is it time to reevaluate the Parks and Rec lease if they're doing that well? Monona is a landlocked community, as we all know. There isn't available land to purchase for a school without removing something that already exists. The cost to acquire land and demolish structures, which we just looked at what that would look like potentially, would likely exceed the value of retaining land the district already owns, like Maywood and Nichols. Some of the things that we should be looking at, in my opinion, first is some of that vacant land that the district owns. That presents us with some opportunities without directly impacting any students. The reality is once a property like Maywood or Nichols is sold, you're not losing just the building, you're losing the land and the history, land that we cannot replace in Monona. We have no land to work with. And what does selling Maywood get us? Does it solve the district's financial challenges, or is it a short-term solution to a much larger issue? Are we confident the current projections fully capture what the growth could look like over the next 10 to 20 years? I think a decision like this requires a high level of confidence that the space won't be needed in the future, just because once it's gone, obviously, it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 2 more left. So we have Chelsea Pepper. Welcome back, Chelsea. Nice to see you again.
All right, my name is Chelsea Williams Pepper. I'm a lifelong resident of Monona. I'm going to be honest tonight. I'm concerned because it feels like we keep showing up every month asking the same questions and not getting the answers our community deserves. For months, parents have talked about overcrowding at Winnequah. We've talked about rush lunches, limited spaces, and how students are feeling the impact of these issues every day. And yet we've heard public statements suggesting that overcrowding at Winnequah is not a priority. For the families living it every day, it is a priority. Do you know that recently second graders were given an assignment to write a persuasive letter, and every single second grader wrote the principal asking for more lunchtime and more recess time? What does that tell us? It tells us that overcrowding is not just a crowded hallway. It affects the structure of the school day and the experience students have every day. It means shortened recesses, rushed lunches. It means schedules built around fitting everyone in. Did you know that kindergartners at Winnequah eat lunch at 10:50 in the morning? They then rely on parent-donated snacks later in the day because lunch comes so early. Did you know that students at Winnequah have experienced silent lunches so that they can focus on eating because there's so little time? Did you know that in the winter months, students at Winnequah have to put on all of their full snow gear before going to eat lunch? I'm not asking for endless lunch periods. I'm asking that the reality of a rushed 10 to 20-minute lunch for the young students be taken seriously. Over the last several months, we in the community have raised concerns about growth in Monona, long-term planning, and the risk of selling buildings that are actively being used in our community. While we keep hearing broad trends about fewer children overall, this is not the full picture here in Monona. New apartments are being built, homes are being redeveloped for larger families. Monona remains a place that families want to move to and stay in. Local realty should matter just as much as larger demographic trends when making permanent decisions. We've asked what happens to programs like MG21 and MG Futures if they're moved now, but there's no permanent home for them later. We keep asking question after question, and too often we get no real answers. And now, after reviewing the property report, many of us are asking another important question. If selling Maywood and Nichols does not meaningfully solve the district's long-term financial challenges, why are we rushing towards permanently losing these spaces? Because these are just not random buildings in random locations. Monona's not just any neighborhood. It's a unique community surrounded by a larger city, yet it's kept its own identity. Families choose to live here because it's walkable, the schools are part of the neighborhoods, because of the library, pools, parks, police, and fire services are all close by, and because it feels like a true community. This is the kind of place where generations of families choose to stay, mine included. And Maywood sits right at the heart of it. If we give up land like that now, we cannot simply wave a magic wand and create 17 to 20 acres in Monona for a new school. Once it's gone, it's gone. None of this is new information. So tonight, I will ask again, what is the real plan to address overcrowding now? What is the real long-term plan for a growing community? What is the permanent plan for MG21 and MG Futures? Why does selling schools seem to move faster than solving the problems inside the current schools? We need decisions that make sense 5, 10, and 20 years from now. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last up tonight is Deborah Muscat. Did she go? I don't see her anymore. All right. No, you have to sign up before the meeting. That's the policy. Okay, so that concludes public comment for today, and we will move to action items. L1. So community member fence replacement proposal.
Yeah, Philip, this came to FNO, right?
Yep.
Okay, do you want to do the setup? I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, come on up.
Oh, hello.
Yep.
Welcome.
He's like,
Hey, everybody.
Did you call?
Thanks for coming out and sticking around until this came up. Yeah, so we covered this at FNO, and and we thought that this was a kind of an easy one to forward up to the board. But effectively, we've got a property owner next to Maywood who would like to replace the section of fence that runs along the property line between his property and Maywood at his cost, with no impact to the district financially. If you want to say a couple words, maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Philip.
Hold this up for you also.
Thank you very much.
Is what you brought to us, right?
Yeah, so hopefully don't want to spend too much time on this, but the presentation tries to lay it out pretty plain. There's a older fence that there's a great picture of it my wife took. And essentially, I think I joked with Philip and the committee that I find myself yelling at my kids, like, stay away from the fence, because the prongs up there. Yeah, and we wanted to see what the options were. The quotes were reasonable. So we have a proposal from Madison Fence contracting company. They'd come in and root out all the problem trees that have grown in through that. And it was like, well, what? We should just ask. I wasn't going to move forward without permission. So
We appreciate it. Thank you.
thanks. It was nice presenting to the committee. The real ask, if you want to learn more about the type of fence, there's a nice photo here, but it's like a three. There's me and our kids.
All the way down, I think.
It's the second to last one.
Yep, there it is.
Beautiful.
It is. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a 3-panel, so shouldn't really any functional difference at all, except it'll be now a metal construction instead of the chain link old style with the prongs on the top. So we thought about what could we do to move it entirely onto our own property and remove the school district fence and replace it with a new fence like 6 inches or 1 foot, depending on where it is on the line. And it really just didn't work. Like there was 2 trees on both sides and tying it into the existing fence was important. So I understand the risk that if there's a sale or something, everything you guys have been talking about, that's likely, that may impact this, but where the fence is, it's up on the ridge. It seems very unlikely, given the land use, the topography, that would be, yeah, thank you. There's a plat map.
Yeah, like even if there was development.
Yeah, and we work with reasonable people, so I don't view it as a high-risk issue. But it is something the committee brought up, and it was a good question, and it's just, if we have to move it again, we'll move it again. But happy to answer any questions the board has, but I'm asking your permission to remove the existing fence and replace it with a new section of fence along the property line.
Yeah, thank you. And just to kind of clarify, even though Philip and I have talked about this, you're taking responsibility for the cost of the replacement of replacing the fence out.
Right.
You want to do the rest of the fence?
while you're in there,
No.
you get all your neighbors pulled together.
Well, neighbors on either side, they have vegetation and trees.
Yeah.
So they're just like, I don't care. They don't ever see the fence. Whereas ours is very plain view. And it's like, we got to get rid of this fence.
Yeah,
So-
no, I think at the end of the day, it works for us because it's a beautification of the property, and obviously works for you because it's beautification of your property, and also not a safety concern for children getting caught on the, although I hopped many chain link fences in my youth, so.
Yeah.
Cut on many.
I did too. A lot of tetanus shots.
Shot waiting to
So
happen.
I'll go ahead and move approval of the request to replace fencing along the property line adjacent to the Maywood School for the lot located with mailing address 5400 Schluter Road with no monetary contribution or performance from the school district as presented.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Thanks again for hanging out for so long today. We'll voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Go forth and build a fence.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and
Have a
thank you
great
again for
evening.
hanging so late.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Yeah. Send us a picture when it's done.
We will.
All right, discussion item, policy update, first read for F&O. Philip?
Yeah, so there's a number of policies up for first read coming out of F&O. The majority of them are related to procedure and controls around things like fundraising, expenses, employee expenses, purchasing. So it's a mixture of statutorily required changes and better practice. So this is We've talked about how we're tightening controls, right? One of the things that's going on this year is looking at our processes and trying to tighten down controls and create better processes. These policies are part of that. So the modifications here should lead to better oversight and better controls. Things like student fundraising, gifts and grants. The one thing, this is, I don't know if this is particularly interesting, but I did want to comment on 6325. One of the things that we elected to change was the threshold at which we have to track assets that are paid for by grants. So the ceiling used to be 5,000. That's where the policy was. The ceiling is now 10,000. The advantage to going up to 10,000 is it reduces the number of assets we have to manage, right? And we can reduce the overhead on the administration by doing that. So we did elect to bump that up to $10,000 per asset. But that's effectively what these policy changes support. If anybody has any questions, you can ask me now. If I don't know, I can follow up with you.
I know you said this, Philip, but just
too.
to clarify, the 5,000 and 10,000 is an increase up to the federal cap.
Correct. That's right. Yeah, and that's just because stuff costs more now.
Yeah,
right?
man. No, I get it. Yes, Tanya.
And just to clarify, these came in the last Neola update. And so Kristen sits in on those with us. And she takes the 7, 8, and 9,000 series policies to F&O. But we went through that process with Tim to go, and she was there, much like we do with the policy committee. So
Yeah, and we
it
had
took a longer to get to them.
Yeah, and we had a good discussion on these at F&O. They were supposed to come through in February, but we had a really long meeting, and so we punted these to the March meeting. And that's why they're coming now to the board. Yeah, so feel free to follow up later, too, if you have other questions.
Not a specific question, just kind of a general question. I'm looking at the fundraising one and just wondering if that has been talked through with staff that do fundraising. And if any, you know what I mean, if any staff.
The crowdfunding one?
Crowdfunding or student
fundraising.
pledge?
Just I know there's, because school funds are limited, sometimes when you want to do a school thing, you have to do a fundraiser. And so I'm just wondering if staff have seen this or had a chance to have any input in it.
No, I think Kristen cross-referenced it with the recommendations from Neola and then best practices around some was like technical corrections, but then there was some financial requirements that we didn't have in place that should be in place. I can't speak to the exact ones. I'd have to pull the original sheet. And then just oversight options, who should have the oversight, and then cross-references with other policies.
Yeah, a lot of this is about knowing where money is and why it's there and who's in charge of it. Fundraising is just one of the categories that we're going after. We did talk at committee about any impacts that these policy changes would have on people, whether it's the crowdfunding, the student funding. There's another policy, for example, getting updated around community organizations and how they raise money. We did talk about in places where there are substantive changes or new things that people need to be aware of that'll all be communicated, right? So once the policy goes into place, kind of as necessary, we wanted to make sure that impacts were accounted for. And the answer was they will be. So.
Okay, just as long as because there are people who are who have been doing fundraisers for a long time, and if these are changes that are going to impact that, they would need to know that before they sign a contract with the people to do the same fundraiser. You know what I mean? I think, and now I'm scrolling and I can't find it. It said you can only do it for 2 weeks. And so things like that, I know that when I was teaching at GDS, we did one fundraiser with 8th grade music, and we would sign a contract with that company to raise money for an 8th grade music trip. And so anyway, just before people sign those contracts, we need to make sure that they have this information to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I just had a quick question, which is, do we have a district-approved platform for crowdfunding?
We do.
It's not named in the policy, is it? Or am I missing it?
At least I thought we did, or I thought we had at least a couple of them.
The policy lists the standards, which
Or that maybe it's not so much that they're named, but that they have to meet certain standards. Like SOC 2 compliant and different things like that.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious because it says.
It references policy 5830.
Okay, it's not a big deal. I just was curious.
I'm trying to blank on what some of them are. I mean, I don't think there's only like one, but if anybody comes forward with wanting to do one.
Yeah, like a GoFundMe.
These are-
Parameters.
Yeah.
that we'd
These are
have
the
to follow.
parameters.
Yeah.
Got it.
Based on their fee
Okay,
structure.
yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Great. As always, per policy, if you have additional questions or corrections, please send them over to Philip as chair of F&O prior to our second read, which will be in May. All right, informational items, TLE.
I'm just going to, because we touched over literacy and some other great subjects in the last meeting, but I'm going to say we have our next meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
So tune in, 4:00 on Zoom.
Great. Philip, anything with F&O other than policy and fences?
Yeah, a couple of just brief things, and I'll just steer you towards our agenda if you want to dig into the details. But we did a preview of the capital project plan for the 26-27 budget. That's going to come to the board as part of the preliminary budget presentation in June. But I just wanted to let everyone know that we discussed that at F&O and got a preview of it. It's mostly the majority of the dollars is the new traffic loop at CGS, and then there's a handful of smaller things, some that we have no choice but to do, and then we're chipping away at some projects at GDS. So
yes.
And I don't know who I talked to. One of you, just making sure that it's really clear in the budget about what those projects are,
that was
the
me.
list.
yeah,
Oh, maybe we
Yeah,
both
I
talked
think
about it.
both of you said
Oh.
like, we want to be able to go back and reference, as
Yeah.
we've been talking about capital planning and people paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Like to make sure that it's codified and people understand, these are the things that, why. they were
Right.
picked
Yeah,
and
what we've
they
chosen
are.
and why.
Right, because exciting things like valve replacements last year to the tune of like whatever, $1 million wasn't exciting. Nobody saw it.
Yeah.
But it was a big chunk of money and making sure people understand that we had to do that.
Yeah.
And for the reasons why.
Yeah, I think that that's really important, especially as people are looking at things and not fully appreciating what's like a need to have versus a nice to have. I know, for example, sprinkler systems have come up a number of times, like through community conversations and thinking about how like, a flash fire is bad. And if you don't have the right sprinkler systems to combat that, that's a problem. So just, yeah, I think any of that rationale is helpful.
the other thing I wanted to mention from F&O was you may recall that due to the government shutdown in the fall, there were parameters that were not released in time for the standard annual audit to be inclusive of a small portion of controls related to federal grants and management of federal funds. So that audit, for not just us, but pretty much everybody, was delayed until quarter one of this year. That wrapped up. There were two minor findings, procedural findings that were based around controls. Both have been fixed going forward. So we don't expect to see those in the future. But just wanted to share that with the board that the audit is complete and the two small things were addressed.
Do you remember off the top of your head what they were? I can go read the report.
Yeah, it's in the agenda. It was basically similar to a couple of the things that came up in the general audit, where it was part of that transition year with the new administration coming on and having not enough people necessarily in the chain to approve certain things or look over certain things.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yep. So that one's done.
Great. Thank you. Anything else? Any questions for Philip? Personnel.
We met last week and heard a presentation on insurance options. And so Al Yeager, our insurance guy, has broker, went through a lot of different options, and we were able to see them, and also the MGA was able to be there and see that as well. The district has met with certified staff, buildings and grounds, and the paraprofessionals and administrative assistants to work on handbook issues. And I've been going to those just kind of as the personnel committee rep. And we will meet with certified staff again on April 22nd.
Great.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions about personnel? All right, Monona Grove Education Foundation, Susan.
Okay, so the Monona Grove Education Foundation met on Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. The superintendent provided her report, including an update on fall consolidation of Taylor Prairie and Cottage Grove schools, and discussion of Monona Grove Education Foundation assisting in the funding of teacher recognition. They presented their finance report. Year-end documents showed a payout of approximately $49,000 and receipts of approximately $50,000 in donations. The board approved an update of the Monona Grove Education Foundation mission statement. The foundation is currently recruiting new board members, so anyone that might be interested, you can start with contacting Carrie Robbins. They also sent out their 2025 donor year and tax letters, so if you made a donation, you would have gotten that. They did their committee reports. The foundation, as a board, did not meet in March. The committees met to review their goals and processes, and Finance Committee will be doing an annual report. The Grants Committee reviewed and clarified their process, rewrote the mission and process, reviewed and approved a high school request for assisting in a grant for the Certified Nurse Assistant Program for $44,000 coming from the Amazon account. They also approved a grant for choir travel for going out to schools, and also approved a grant for clothing and grab and go. The weekend snack pack program is continuing. Communications is working on the Traditions newsletter. Senior recognition is Wednesday, May 20th, 6:30 p.m. And the next meeting is Tuesday, May 12th at 4 p.m.
Great, thank you. Any questions
Done
for
some
Susan?
amazing work.
Yeah.
Don't you agree with what they brought back of the committee work that they did in March?
Oh, it's incredible.
It's incredible.
They went over everything, all their processes, and met as committees. So it wasn't just the chair doing.
Yeah, that's great.
Again, the processes that the board is currently using now in approaching, looking at what they do and how they do it, it is excellent.
Great, that's great.
It was amazing.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing.
We have had an ongoing ask, well, I haven't been here, this is 18 months. And so since I got here, people have asked about, for some reason, we don't recognize 15 and 25-year employees. And so because we asked them last year to help us fund service years and retirement, I said, would you guys be willing to, we add that?
Yeah.
There's lots of low to no cost ways we recognize people, but people have said they really like and we give cool gifts.
Yeah.
We do great things. And so they were excited about that. They agreed. They were working with Tish on purchasing or reimbursing us for that purchase. It's about a $3,000 for 2 years worth of things. So.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was exciting.
And important because that's a long time of service.
Yeah. So
great. Okay. Any questions for Susan or Tanya about that? All right. Otherwise, always rounding us out, Tanya.
Right.
Superintendent's report.
Yeah. So we have been having ongoing conversations about the current projections that we have, long-term projections. And, we had them updated, some of the things that we had done with Vanderwall. And so we'd met with Applied Population Lab to ask them to, look at, they're out of Madison, they have good local context, but really to look at a third-party 10-year outlook that looks at resident population trends, to look at, what that looks like. So it would go out through the year 35, 36. And then they use a grade progression ratio model, which is similar to what Kristen uses, but they go back to 2018 and then cast forward using that model. Also then look at local housing trends. And then we will have to isolate our resident data from our open enrollment trends because we had one philosophy, then it went real big and high, and then now we're back to just filling open seats. So you'll have this bump. So we want that separated out. So we just signed off on it this week, and she thought 6 to 8 weeks. And Philip has been working on some projects with us on housing sales and who's moving into them. And
Yeah.
all kinds of data.
Yeah, I think, and I see your hand, Philip, just really quick.
Oh, no, my hand's not up.
I'm sorry. I thought it was up in the corner of my eye. I think I'm really glad we're doing this. I think obviously we're getting a lot of community inquiry around sort of how accurate is our information. I also think that thinking about the recent builds that are happening, sort of particularly on multifamily homes, like here and Cottage Grove, like what is the reality of those yielding families and kind of at what rate? And I know that there's some science behind that. So for example, when we hear about, 1-bedroom units, that's not a family apartment, right? 3-bedroom units, maybe.
Philip has some information.
Well, yeah, and one of the things that I spoke to Dr. Frederick about this, with the APL study that I hope they're able to do is utilize our actual data on, because, we know where our kids live, right? And,
right.
There's, 2,000 odd apartment units in Monona right now. And we know how many kids live in apartments that come to Winnequah, right? So
Right.
I just want to make sure that they, use the actual data to input into their models.
Yeah.
So that we can basically say, if for every 100, 200 units that are getting built in Monona, we see X kids, then they can easily project,
Yeah.
what we would expect based on, unless there's a really good explanation for why the last 15 years of trend data would all of a sudden change, right?
Right.
Drastically shift, right?
Yeah,
So
which,
why, why would that happen?
Yeah. What would be the circumstances that we'd be looking for?
Will it also in some way, like we've had several people talk about like turnover in Monona, will it include like house sales and like stuff like that?
Not as much about the house sales. That's more of what we've been working on internally.
Okay.
Some of that data. There's a lot of, how many houses are being sold that are being rentals, short-term rentals? It's interesting. And then you layer upon that it's not Dane County, but the projections that they did, the 10, 20, 30-year projections.
Yeah.
And Cottage Grove is expected to grow, and Monona is expected to grow like 1,200 people in 10 to 20 years. So it's just none of it's matching up with the narrative of like, there's all these people coming in here. So we're just trying to align.
Contrasting population growth with birth rates and things like that too. Monona's grown since I think the 2010 census by, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's at least 1,000 people, maybe more. But there's fewer, live births in Monona now than there was then. So it's right. So even though there's 1,000 to 2,000 more people,
They're not babies.
No, but I think the point the people who spoke were making though is that, like people who have retired and maybe move out of their home are selling to younger families. And so I think the point that was being made is potentially about the house sales going to like.
She's got general information about
Yeah.
that, what's happening in Dane County, and then specifically being able to look at like median age of housing
Yeah.
sales and, some of those things that people are aging in place. They're not, selling
Right.
as quickly and some of those kind of things. So yes, I feel like we're going to have.
Yeah, I also think a useful metric, and I don't know if this would be APL or if we would think about doing this, if Kristen would do these numbers, right? Like we get our enrollment projections on an annual basis, right? And then we get the actual enrollment that has sort of like the plus or minus from the delta from the previous year. I think if we could elongate that out and then also project that out, right? Because I think what's happening is that folks are like, oh yeah, look, there's a house that got sold and there's a family coming in, but that like could be 2 kids, but 2 kids in doesn't necessarily mean that like that adds to the population at Winnequah, right? Because how many kids are coming out at any particular time, like there's a constant sort of role. And so if there's a way for us to sort of think through that. And then I do think there are concerns about, sort of just how Winnequah is currently set up and some of the crowding pieces there that to me feel like related to but distinct from some of these conversations around sort of what to do with Maywood and those pieces. And so I feel like this APL study helps us in multiple directions, and that it helps us potentially solve a capacity problem at Winnequah, and helps us think through kind of what's our long-term asset planning.
Yeah, and I mean that backwards. I mean, Winnequah's down, what did you say there was there in 20?
We're down 80 kids right now.
On 80 kids that were there,
Last year.
Right.
right?
Something like
And
that,
we're
yeah.
projected to be down even more next year. And we're actually 159 overall kids enrolled that were projected. Like, for example, last year at this time, the number of kids that were registered for 4-year-old kindergarten
Yeah,
at
for-
Taylor Prairie.
These numbers are wild. I don't know if you all have seen them yet.
So from this time, on April 20th, the number of kids we had enrolled, we went up 7 kids total by the first day of school. So we got to 101 from where we were on April. 7 more kids came.
Right.
We had projected 94, we have 70. Yeah. And we had 60 before, and we did a huge press of like, if you're coming.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, we're
please
seeing
tell us.
a huge loss at that early childhood level for next year, which is like its own alarming challenge. That's a pipelining problem. That's a lot of challenges.
Yeah, are you finding that that's because kids aren't coming to school with us, or are they just not in the community?
Capture 80%, which is pretty high. I mean, that's to be expected. I don't know. It was.
Yeah, it's a very big drop though, when you look at the enrollment
Won't be able to
projections.
support as many sections as we had. I mean, we'd have sections of like 12, 11.
Yeah.
Unless this summer.
Yeah. it's
Bring your
disturbing because right
4Kers.
now, we're, at risk of having like $600,000 less in revenue than was in the.
Well, that's the
That's
other,
the-
that's the other undercurrent to this. We probably should move on.
Yeah, I know. Now we're getting into a discussion about all kinds of things, but, okay. When Glacial Drumlin was built, the city required walking paths to be put in and paid for at, yep, Susan remembers, yep. Yep. So,
They basically required that we build the road.
oh yeah, when I looked, Kristen
the
and I had
steps.
never seen anything like that. I was like, whoa.
before my time.
Now that Heyday is being put in, they are going to, Heyday will provide the conductivity in the middle. We have to do from, well, they're going to redo, and they are not in great shape, the paths on Glacial Drumlin School, and then we have to put in from Granite Ridge to Heyday.
Okay.
So there's a couple different chunks, and so we will be getting a bill for them, an estimated $110,000 to pay for our part. So
That's in that list I referenced from FNL.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
They first told us it was, in the original thing, it was like $900,000 because I think they were going to make us pay. I don't know what it was all for. I was like, ooh, but, so this is, I don't know, maybe it was the strategy, like it's really expensive. Oh, just kidding. Relative. So
this is not an unexpected cost because this
No.
is something that a previous board had
they
approved.
gave us the heads up when Heyday got approved that conductivity would be coming, which is really
I
nice
think
for
it's
kids.
because the developer is paying for the majority of it because they bought the land.
Yep.
We still, the whole length of it, that's
We
why
had
it would have
some we
been.
had to put in and some needs to be repaved. And then it will actually be really, I mean, that's a big block when you think about Glacial Drumlin School all the way down and then back over. But that will be really nice that that's all paved.
Yes, it'll be very nice.
It's not safe, that road's busy and they will put in a traffic pedestrian light.
Oh,
like we
good.
have for the high schools. They'll
Good.
put that in between Shady Grove subdivision.
Okay.
And across the street to Heydays, and then they've also talked
That's
about
good.
timing of the stoplights.
That
and stuff in the
intersection
morning.
is-
That makes me a little nervous. What?
Do we maintain that too then?
They're not making us pay for it.
No, I meant so like snow removal.
Would be the village, right?
It's the village does it.
As part of like the municipality.
A random fun fact, the kids from Shady Grove go under
They
the
did us
road.
around, thank you. Sorry, I feel like I've been looking at you a lot today, like. Right.
There you go. Yes. So that's coming down. They promised me it's gonna be ready for school, and that stop and go light will have a pedestrian crossing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a net win for everybody.
It is. It's a good for that community.
Yeah, and I mean, that that corner has just really, I mean, talking about
Busy.
development, it's really gotten busy,
10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon.
Yeah, but,
Drive out of there. So, yeah. The high school is doing a mock crash. Those had become they were very popular at one time.
yes, I remember
Probably
going through
when
my own.
I was in high
It was
school.
traumatizing.
Yeah. And it was all about driving under the influence. Now it is definitely more distracted driving.
That makes sense.
It's not to scare kids before prom weekend, which is what it
Yeah,
felt like it
like
used to
where
be.
the kid dies in the hospital.
Oh,
bed?
yeah,
That was. Did you guys ever go through one of those? Did you go through one? They were wild. It'd be like crash, and then the parents would come in, the actors, and they were wailing, and the kid would be on the gurney. Like it was an experience that I obviously still remember quite viscerally as I'm trauma dumping on everybody here at 9:40 p.m.
Families have an option to opt out
Sure.
because some kids that's just not appropriate.
I'm glad it's more focused on distracted driving, though.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
like, I mean, obviously we have a lot of drunk driving challenge here just as a culture in our state, but to
High
me,
driving is a bigger problem. Yeah.
Based on the beer cans that I pick up as I walk my dog along Vilas Road, yes, we do.
Chucking them out the window. But the distracted driving, I think, is
Yeah,
very
it's-
apropos for kids and being distracted by texting and.
Should have an option for parents.
Calendar adjustments, because we only used one of our inclement weather days, and we still have enough hours to not have to do anything different about at the middle school, and littles need so many less hours. We'll still be planning on the last day of school will be June 10th, or 9th.
My kids are so happy.
I know. Can I tell them that Elliot reached out to me?
Oh, yes, you can.
So
This
Elliot
is-
reached out to me on the day that we couldn't have school at Glacial Drummond School, and he
Right,
was
'cause the
like-
power was out,
The
so they
power was
closed
out,
at
and he was
GDS.
like, "Does this mean we have to go to school another day?" I'm like, "Nope, you're still
He
good
goes,
on
"I
the
have
hours,
this question."
buddy."
I was like, then you can connect with Dr. Frederick and ask her. And
I'm like,
and
"Nope,
he did.
you're all good." And then he spread the word.
Yeah, he did.
So staff's last contracted day will still be June 12th as it was. They work a half day that morning. And then EAs and SEAs, we're giving them the option of they can not work and not have to use their benefit time, or they can work. Because we know that childcare is an issue and some of those kind of things. So we need several of them to work because we've got a lot of end of the year things to do. But we're really working on a schedule to move some of the summer work that was going to be done back into those 2 days. So people, while they're still in the groove, and then it's less disruptive to people's summer. And we don't have to pay extra money. So it's a little bit of a win-win.
Sorry, just going back to the weather impacted event, which I know you're going to get to with when you talk about the musical, but was there flooding at GDS at all? Yeah, okay. I had a parent tell me that they thought there was flooding at GDS, and I was like, I don't think so, but I just wanted to confirm.
A lot of other issues, but not
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Granite Ridge took the beating.
Yeah.
That storm as far as repairs that are needed. And those, yep. Just a couple upcoming things. We have the District Wellness Committee will be meeting on March 29th. Anybody that wants to show up. Spring Community Dinner will be held at Granite Ridge on April 30th. Those are really fun. Our school and nutrition program puts them on, and they, just at no cost, open to the public for families and even just community members. So they're really nice, and it's fun to see the kids talking to their parents about all the, interesting food that they eat at school. And you see parents like, "Are you eat that at school? You don't eat that at home." So, but they're really nice. And then Fine Arts, we had the musical this weekend, as always, phenomenal. This is my third musical I've been able to attend since I was offered the job here, and just phenomenal. Super proud of all of our staff and kids and families and community members who not just pivoted for this. So Friday night, we canceled everything. My husband's like, "You better hope there's a tornado warning." I know. And there was. It was at 6:45. It happened in both communities. We would have had a shelter in place. And that was during arrival time for a lot of people. It would have been really messy. So it was the right decision. Rescheduling is hard, but everybody worked really hard together. Was in conversation with Mo a lot to figure out like what's going to make the most sense. And I think we did the best thing we could do.
And I went to see that rescheduled show, and it was great. Yeah, it was awesome. Also, having been at the high school when middle school concerts used to be at the high school, and we had a tornado warning thing, and then everybody had to leave the auditorium. I mean, So, yeah, I get it.
And it's not safe. I mean, I think Tuesday we learned a lot. It was real. So, and all the kids were amazing, whether it was the kids that ran the sets and the backstage and the orchestra and the performers. And I loved that they brought the littles back again. Last year they didn't, and this year they were there again, so it was great. Just two last things, I guess. There's been some issues in the media that some of companies that are like ed tech are violating confidentiality and FERPA and some of those things. And so we checked all of our vendors. It's fine. They're not, because I think it can't happen because we don't give them like kids information or like assigned a code or whatever. So it's written out there to explain. So if you have any questions, let me know, or if you hear from anybody. And then most important, Luke got we did the leash handover today. How come
He's not here right now.
May. He's coming in May.
Okay.
Yes, she's coming in May. She, yeah. And then there's one more picture in there, I think, Tish. So we were laughing. We're like,
photo book?
We're like
a baby book?
Yeah, they gave him a photo book.
It's like a baby book.
The family that raised him and trained him gave him a photo book that's like since he was a baby. So it was super cute. And no one was happier than Luke. He was just like.
He looks so happy.
Yeah. So the woman in the red is the owner of Custom Canine Service Dogs. Okay. And then obviously our chief. So it was great. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So we'll start seeing him.
Awesome.
All I got.
All right. Last item is around future meeting dates. So just as a reminder, it's a little bit of a funky month. Obviously, thank you all for being able to accommodate the reschedule based on last week's inclement weather. We have our reorg meeting on the 27th, starting at 7 o'clock here at the district office. Standard meeting that we do every year to reorganize board leadership and board positions and committee chairs. And then immediately following that, we'll do our working session to dig a little bit deeper around the opinion of value that we saw today. So see you all next Monday. If you can't make it, please let me know, but do try to prioritize both the reorg meeting and the work session. Yes?
F&O's next week, I think, isn't it?
It is. I recycled the agenda from.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure for awareness, it's not the 23rd.
I'll update it
It's-
tomorrow.
Thank you. Nice catch, Philip.
I also wanted to make sure I didn't miss it.
Right, like, excuse me today.
Yeah.
I'm not going
Trust
to that
me.
meeting. All right, thank you all. This was a very comprehensive and robust meeting today. We got a lot done. So can I get a motion for adjournment, please?
Make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second. Great. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned at 9:47 PM. Thank you, everybody. Nice work today.